Chapter 26. Lily acted quickly. After returning to her dorm after astronomy class, she started writing letters to her parents and Penny. It wasn't that she didn't miss home, but when those blue eyes looked at her, she couldn't say anything to refuse. Who would refuse the request of a little angel? And she was full of expectations for the Hobbs family. Dotted quickly and brought Lily replies from Mr. and Mrs. Evans and Penny the next morning. Merlin. Lily opened the letter and started reading. When she read a certain paragraph, her voice full of surprise made Sylvia curious. She quickly swallowed the pumpkin pie in her mouth, looked at Lily and said, "What? Did Mr. and Mrs. Evans agree? What about Penny? Will she come?" "Don't worry." Lily stuffed a glass of pumpkin juice into Sylvia's hand. She didn't miss the way Sylvia struggled to swallow such a big mouthful of pumpkin pie. "It's Penny. She got an invitation to the Cokeworth County Ballet competition. Just before Christmas." Lily was really happy for Petunia when she saw this. Petunia liked ballet, and she and Petunia had both learned ballet before coming to Hogwarts, but she was really not interested in it. She knew Petunia was talented, just by looking at the teacher's praise for her in every class. She was so happy for Petunia. So amazing. Penny's image suddenly became taller in Sylvia's eyes. She admired all people with artistic talent. Yes, Petunia has always been very talented and hardworking. Lily exuded pride when she talked about Petunia's ballet, and she is my sister. She is my sister. Sylvia thought a little sourly, why doesn't Andric have these talents? She looked at Andric with some disappointment, and received a confused look from him. Why is she looking at me like that? Andric poked Sirius, who was eating breakfast, seriously. The person who was interrupted put down the sandwich in his hand, looked up at the girl opposite him, and said in a mysterious and strange tone, "Who knows? Hey, Andre dancing ballet?" Sirius listened to the conversation on the other side word for word, and couldn't help but imagine the scene. Well, it was a bit scary. He patted Andric's shoulder earnestly. Andric, confused for the second time, tilted his head. What? Is it the wrong way to get up? Why did the Riddler come to Hogwarts? Oh, and the Riddler is his favorite villain in the Batman series. How did he know about Batman? A little boy came to the valley before. His mother was a wizard and his father was a muggle. He showed Andric a lot of muggle comics during his time there, but they moved away soon. Andric never read muggle comics again. He told him to get the Riddler out of Hogwarts. He looked at Sylvia and Sirius with resentment. He hated the feeling of not finishing his words. After reading her parents' letter, Lily didn't want to wait a moment and started reading Petunia's letter in a low voice. After her sister received the admission letter from Hogwarts, Petunia rarely showed such high emotions. In this letter, Penny first spent a page expressing her nervousness and then her uncontrollable excitement. Between the lines, one can see how much importance she attaches to this competition. The second page is about her longing for Sylvia and her harsh condemnation of her for not writing to her. At the end, she said that there was still some vacation time after the game and she could go to Hope's house to play, but Lily had to be there too. The original words were, "I know you will definitely go, even if Sylvia is there, but I think it will be difficult for me to stay in a place full of wizards, even though you are also a wizard." Lily could imagine the disgusted and expectant expression on Penny's face when she wrote this sentence. She knew that Penny had forgiven her, because her pride would not let her say "I forgive you" directly. Sylvia, who was sitting next to Lily, heard the entire content of the letter. She felt a little guilty. Life at Hogwarts was so interesting that she even forgot about writing the letter. Penny forgives you. If we were to say who cares most about this issue besides Lily, it would be Sylvia. The friendship between girls is very strange. Even though she and Penny only knew each other briefly at the station, she still regards Penny as one of her best friends. She is also particularly concerned about the relationship between her and her sister, not to mention that the other party is her good friend and roommate. Let's go to the kitchen and have some cake to celebrate. Tonight. But I promise it's just a celebration. After we get the cake we'll go back to the lounge before curfew. It was those eyes full of pleading again. This was Lily's last thought before she agreed in a daze. Sylvia, I swear I will never promise you anything casually again. Two small figures huddled behind the armor in the corridor. Lily was breathing heavily with some palpitations. She had not yet recovered from the thrill she had just experienced. Sorry, sorry. Sylvia clasped her hands together, I couldn't help it. Don't be angry, Lily. Damn, it's that hateful eye attack from Sylvia again. Lily took a deep breath and forced herself not to look at the other person. Can't help but eat supper until curfew? I really doubt whether you have eaten dinner. I really can't help it, Lily. Feeling her clothes being gently tugged, Lily was really getting angry at herself. She spat at herself fiercely and then said in a softened tone, well, the most important thing for us now is to avoid Filch. Tisk, Sylvia is still the one who knows how to act coquettishly. Sylvia, who had just finished acting coquettishly, didn't have time to show a successful smile before she felt a strong force pulling her away from behind. Afraid that Lily would fall down with her, she quickly let go of the other person's sleeve. Many thoughts flashed through Sylvia's mind in an instant, and finally converged into a thought that she must remind Lily to leave quickly to find the professor, but her mouth was covered as soon as she spoke. Feeling the gentle force on her clothes disappear, Lily turned her head away from looking outside and found that Sylvia had disappeared. What? Before she could panic, her mouth was covered. This was probably the first time the other party had kidnapped her like this. Lily felt her mouth and eyes were covered tightly. Merlin, don't let her know who it is. If she has a chance to retaliate. Lily, who was having difficulty breathing, staggered. The other party seemed to realize that his actions were a bit rude and pulled Lily with the hand that was covering his eyes. The girl, who was able to catch her breath, turned her head and saw several very familiar faces hiding in the dim light. Porter? What's going on? The boy who was shouted at quickly let go. He was a little flustered. He touched his pants and rubbed his hands tightly. Finally, he chose to ruffle his hair. Perhaps the messy hair brought him some confidence and he was finally not so nervous. Lily. Are you okay? Sylvia witnessed James' rough kidnapping method and was a little worried. I'm fine. Lily shook her head. Why are you all here? Don't tell me you are taking a night stroll. Thanks to practicing magic with Lily these days, some of the fearless Gryffindors were rarely afraid of the sight of Lily raising her eyebrows. Are you hiding from Filch? We heard someone talking outside, we didn't expect it was you. Yes, that's right. Lily didn't dispute the fact that they were hiding from Filch. So you were taking a night walk. Sirius and Andric, who failed to change the subject, took a step back behind Remus. Come on, Remus, now. It's time to test our relationship. Remus, who was placed with high hopes, was a little stiff under his brother's trusting gaze. Oh, you know, some of the little fun for boys. The young werewolf had not yet mastered the skill of speaking. At least now Lily was obviously even angrier after hearing what he said. This is not a reason for you to be outside. If you violate the school rules, you may even have your gems deducted from the academy. That's not the case. We are now accomplices. James returned to his usual self and successfully rescued his good brother. Lily blushed and touched her nose awkwardly. Well, she forgot that she was out there too. Why are you still outside? It's curfew now, ladies. Sirius raised his eyebrows. He remembered that after the first night tour, Sylvia announced her withdrawal from the night tour the next day. Andric and James sighed for a long time because of this. Haha. Now it was Sylvia's turn to be embarrassed. What should she say? Should she say that she and Lily had been looking for the kitchen for a long time? Or should she say that she had a midnight snack until curfew? No matter which one you say, it's embarrassing. We went to the kitchen to eat something. Sylvia's vague answer only confused James. The other party said something like he wanted to go back to the kitchen to celebrate Sylvia's successful night tour and successfully overcoming her sense of direction to find the kitchen. Andric and Sirius ignored their friends' shouts. They came to Sylvia, who nudged Sylvia with her shoulder. How did you find it? You didn't just take a chance and walk around. Facing Sirius's obvious ridicule, Sylvia's face immediately became hot. No way. She tried to clear her name, but was ruthlessly betrayed by her brother. That's the only possibility. Maybe Lily couldn't bear to see her anymore and took her away. But why did you come back so late? Didn't you leave at 7? Andric thought that no matter how lost you were, you couldn't be lost for 3 hours, right? You ate a lot there again, didn't you? Andric became more and more certain the more he thought about it, so he turned the question into an affirmative sentence. He knew that his sister couldn't help but keep eating when she saw something delicious. Be careful, your stomach might be upset again. Inexplicably, her brother guessed the reason, and Sylvia felt her face getting even redder. No way. But her rebuttal was like no rebuttal. Don't think I didn't see you smiling, Sirius. Sylvia looked viciously at the person who was laughing softly. Damn Sirius. And that nasty Andric. Chapter 27. The noise here attracted Lily. Looking at Sirius and Andric who were laughing happily and Sylvia who was sulking over there, she couldn't help laughing. Lily. Sylvia felt betrayed. Why are you laughing too? Haha, sorry. Lily said this but she didn't seem to be sorry at all. But what are you laughing at? You're laughing at me without even knowing the reason. Sky Blue eyes were filled with disbelief. He covered his heart as if struck by lightning and took 2 steps back. Lily was really sorry now. She cleared her throat and asked, okay, I won't laugh anymore. Evans, how did you find the kitchen? With Sylvia's night blindness and poor sense of direction. Sirius had a bright smile in his eyes. He could see that this girl was taking advantage of the fact that Evans could not stand her eye attack and was putting on a show. Oh, poor Evans was fooled by this little liar. Sirius sighed in his heart, but based on Sylvia's eyes, few people could not help but feel soft-hearted. He gave Sylvia great praise for her performance. Night blindness? Bad direction. Now it was Lily's turn to be incredulous. Merlin, you didn't even tell me. Because Sylvia doesn't like carrots. Shut up, Andric. You don't have to say that every time. Sylvia was furious. She swore on Andric's hair that if she continued like this, the whole Gryffindor, no, the whole Hogwarts would know that she didn't like carrots. And just because I don't like it doesn't mean I won't eat it. Wait, that's not right. The careful little red-haired witch noticed something was wrong. I thought it was Sylvia who took me around the castle. Just like when they were hiding behind the armor, she just thought Sylvia was delayed because she took too long to eat, not because she was lost. What? Of course not, I'm really lost. Sylvia had to admit it at this point. But you have night blindness, don't you? Come to think of it, you were even able to run smoothly when we were running outside. Lily didn't know what night blindness was, but she had heard from Shia about her first night walk, and she said she didn't even dare to walk and basically held on to Remus' sleeve the entire time. But it's still early for us to go out, isn't it? Sylvia also felt that something was wrong but she was still looking for loopholes. Have you seen the painting on the 4th floor? The man who spoke kept scratching his head, his facial features twisted. It's the one the short guy always calls us when he sees us. Ah. Remus seemed to have thought of something, and he said tentatively, Rabbity and his banana stump. Right, right, right. James tapped the palm of his left hand with his right hand and said with sudden enlightenment. I have the impression that I have been there before. After Sylvia finished speaking, she noticed that the boys looked solemn. She asked nervously, what happened? No, it's really not right. Andric took a step forward and came to Sylvia. We stole all the candles in that corridor. You couldn't have seen them. You mean? Lily was a little surprised. She was a little anxious. I really thought Sylvia could see everything. Don't make me sound like I'm blind. She really didn't know what these people were talking about, what paintings, what candles, what being able to see everything. Don't worry. Sirius saw Sylvia's panicked expression and gently comforted her. If Sylvia ignored his frown, he would really calm her down. Let's go there and take another look. James made the final decision. He preferred to investigate the site rather than guess. Several people walked carefully along the way. At this time, there were only a few candles still flickering in the castle. For little wizards who have only been in school for a few months, Lumos is not yet a good choice. They are already the most talented group, but the spells class is not all practical but also includes theory. What's more, they only have 2 spells classes a week. You have to know that many students are not even familiar with the levitation spell. Along the way, Sylvia felt that she could sometimes see the road clearly and sometimes not. This strange feeling was confirmed in front of Labadai and his banana stump. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Lily looked Sylvia up and down, and finally she added, because I really didn't see the painting. Sylvia felt like her head was about to explode. What did Lily not see? You didn't see it, but I did. You don't have night blindness, but I do. She sorted out her thoughts. Originally, I was the one who shouldn't have seen it, but now it's the other way around. And that corridor should be pitch black. That's right. The professor didn't notice this at all. Filch only patrolled below the 3rd floor today. Andric and the others knew the professor's patrol route today very well. What's more, the dark corridor on the 4th floor confirmed everything. Sylvia had a vague guess in her heart, but why? Don't run around these few nights. We don't have any classes at night. Remus remembered that this week's astronomy class was yesterday, which meant that they would finish the day's classes in the afternoon until next Wednesday. It would be better if we could accompany you during the day, at least one person. Andric was a little worried. He held his sister's hand tightly. There was a slight tremor in his palm, and he couldn't tell whether it was from his or hers. I don't understand. She was still calm at this moment. Why? It's like you're deliberately leading me somewhere. The young wizards didn't know what was going on, but their concern for their friends made them eager to leave here. They finally breathed a sigh of relief after quickly returning to the Gryffindor common room. The warm fireplace brought them not only a sense of security but also fearless courage and confidence. Listen, Sylvia. Andric was unusually serious. I will definitely tell Mom and Dad. You don't have to shake your head. They must know this. Okay, okay. I just don't want them to worry. Oh, really? You think if they don't know, they'll be less worried once you come out? Andric seldom showed his tough side, and it must be said that his look intimidated everyone who knew him. Andric is right. Lily's green eyes were full of determination. We can tell Professor Dumbledore. He will definitely know the reason. Sylvia's nervousness and fear were now all dispelled by her friend. No matter what the reason was, the problem was with herself. But she really didn't know what was special about her. Maybe she just ate the prank cookies by mistake. James and Remus agreed with what Andric and Lily said. Sirius patted Sylvia's shoulder and said, "Don't think about it. Go to bed early. We are all here. Nothing will happen." Everyone realized that it was already very late. Even if they were worried, they had to rest now. Besides, Professor Dumbledore was still in Hogwarts. At the entrance to the boys' and girls' dormitories, Sirius pulled Sylvia aside and whispered, "Remember to always wear the necklace I gave you. It contains tracking magic." After saying that, he followed James and left quickly, not giving Sylvia a chance to speak. Andric followed behind Sirius and didn't notice his little action. He went forward and hugged his sister. "Don't be afraid, Sylvia." Feeling Sylvia patting him gently, Andric felt a little relieved. The boys and girls who were gathered together just now have now returned to their respective dormitories to rest. A night-blind glutton? It seems what he said is true. A figure slowly appeared in a corner of the wall on the 4th floor. Chapter 28. Sylvia was lying on the bed, and Lily's even breathing could be heard beside her. The kind little witch insisted on staying with Sylvia, and perhaps because too many things happened today, she fell asleep quickly. Looking at Lily sleeping, Sylvia suddenly thought of the Halloween in the original book. She hadn't thought about the story in the original book for a long time. She was used to being the youngest daughter of the Hops family and a good friend of James and his family. All she had wanted all along was to prevent the death of James and Lily, and the death of her family and friends. She did have some ideas about the Horcruxes, but she couldn't remember any information about their locations. When she first came to this world, she was still a baby, eating and sleeping every day. Later, when she grew up and was about to change the ending, she was horrified to find that she would fall into a nightmare as long as she thought about the content of the original book. The sticky, wet, and ice-like feeling of falling into an ice cellar completely overwhelmed her. Perhaps it was the protective mechanism of her brain that was triggered, or perhaps it was the little wizard's magic that was protecting her. After several times, she could hardly remember the original plot at all. Only a few quickly schemed fragments allowed her to vaguely distinguish it. And today, after she lay down on the bed, that feeling of almost suffocating came again. Was the smell of rust in the air hers or someone else's? She couldn't tell what was going on, and the crazy laughter around her brought her fragile nerves to the brink of collapse. Is it blood? But why? Why is there blood? She felt herself saying something angrily, but the dizziness and weakness caused by excessive blood loss buried her. "I'm going to die soon. Do not want." The next second Sylvia suddenly opened her eyes and gasped for breath. After a brief moment of unconsciousness, she saw the surrounding environment clearly. The familiar gold and red colors made her feel warm and familiar, and the blood in her limbs began to flow again. At this moment, a panicked and worried face appeared in front of her. "Sylvia? Did you have a nightmare?" Lily's gentle voice soothed Sylvia's still frightened heart. She opened her mouth but found that she couldn't say anything. The feeling of absurdity and powerlessness swept over her body. She couldn't remember what happened in the dream, even though the immersive feeling surrounded her. Sylvia couldn't help but sneer. She knew that Voldemort had something to do with this matter, just from the vague words "my lord." To comfort Lily, Sylvia gently held her hand and asked, "What time is it now?" "It's still early, sleep a little longer, Sylvia," Lily said softly. She patted Sylvia's hands and sang to her the nursery rhyme that her mother used to sing to her to put her to sleep when she was a child, hoping that this would make her feel better. Sylvia fell asleep again to Lily's gentle voice, but this time there was no smell of rust and no crazy laughter. "Wake up, Sylvia, it's time to get up." "I'm sorry Lily, I disturbed your sleep yesterday." Lily didn't know whether to laugh or cry when Sylvia started apologizing before she even opened her eyes. She pinched her face and said, "Don't say that. I was the one who insisted on staying with you. And are you feeling better now? I was scared to death last night. You kept saying no." Lily hesitated for a long time before she finally asked, "Can you tell me what don't mean?" "Ah, I can't remember something." Sylvia felt that this was not a secret that could not be told, but one night did not change the fact that she could not remember anything. As her thoughts gradually came back to her, Sylvia suddenly felt that the scene now happening was very familiar, just like Harry could feel Voldemort's thoughts. "Am I also a Horcrux?" Sylvia's newly emerged idea was rejected by her in an instant. This was unreasonable. There were conditions for splitting the soul. It required the owner of the soul to commit a murder. She was sure that no death had ever occurred around her. Why did she have such a dream? What is the purpose of the dream, or what does it represent? Generally speaking, wizards don't dream very often. The special nature of magic itself makes their dreams special. Nightmare, this is not a good sign. As Sylvia washed and brushed her teeth, she thought carefully and felt that she might need to find Professor Dumbledore. Since he was the greatest white wizard of this century and he was really knowledgeable, Sylvia thought that he might have some guesses. Whether or not the subsequent events were related to her, and how much they were related, was not something she considered. After all, she was not a savior and did not need any special training. However, she hoped that she could still help, if a first-grade wizard like her could do it. Morning. James yawned lazily and sat down opposite Sylvia. "Well, what's wrong with you, James? Didn't you sleep all night?" Seeing the other person staggering, Sylvia couldn't help but wonder if the boys had gone out for another night outing after they returned to the dormitory. "I don't know what's wrong with Andric. He hasn't been quiet all night and has been humming the whole time." Sirius came to the Gryffindor table in an equally exhausted manner. "Can you get me a glass of pumpkin juice? I really don't have the strength to reach out, Sylvia." Sylvia looked at the boys who used to be full of energy with shock, and hesitantly handed the pumpkin juice to Sirius. "Do you want to ask for leave? The first period is Professor McGonagall's Transfiguration class. She will agree to it." "You look really terrible." The culprit, Andric, also looked listless at the moment, and Remus next to him looked even weaker. "You're not much better, Sylvia." Lily tapped Sylvia's head. She was still a little worried when she thought of Sylvia's condition last night. "Do you want to go to the hospital wing to ask Madame Pomfrey for a bottle of dreamless sleeping potion?" "That's a good idea. I'll go." Sylvia nodded. She planned to visit Professor Dumbledore as well. Some things were better resolved early. Chapter 29. Before Sylvia went to find Professor Dumbledore, she was already exhausted by what had happened today. First, in the Transfiguration class, Professor McGonagall demonstrated how to turn a mouse into a teacup. This was a sign that they were starting to increase the difficulty of their studies, considering that what they had previously learned was how to turn inanimate objects into inanimate objects. The problem was not the difficulty of the magic, but that one of the students made a mistake when casting the spell. Maybe it was the wrong tone or the wrong gesture. In short, he successfully turned the mouse into a teacup, the kind with a tail. But why did his teacup run away? Didn't it turn into a teacup? Sylvia screamed loudly in her heart. The key point was that the flying spell was useless against this creature. Let's just call it a creature. Professor McGonagall tried it but nothing came. Then the following scene appeared. The little wizard who was afraid of unknown creatures stood on the table, and the little wizard who was excited about unknown creatures crawled on the ground to look for. Perhaps she was frightened by the ugly things, or perhaps she was surprised by the new species. It took Professor McGonagall a while to realize why all the students in the room were fighting. "Stop, what are you doing?" Professor McGonagall walked quickly to the crime scene. James and Sirius in front of them stopped their actions, but their fists remained in front of the two Slytherin students. However, the wands of the two Slytherins were also pointing at their noses, and the two sides were in a stalemate. "Mr. Potter, Mr. Kunk, I hope you can give me an explanation." The professor swept his stern eyes over them. They angrily let go of each other's hands that were correcting each other's collars and glared at each other with hatred. "Professor," a Gryffindor said, "Quink said that Muggle students shouldn't come to Hogwarts. He also said that only Muggle students could create a teacup mouse." Quink's original words were so filthy that the reckless Gryffindors could not say them out loud. The little wizard who spoke tried to convey the original words accurately, but he gave up when he really uttered the first syllable. The Gryffindors from wizarding families around were glaring at the Slytherin students, while the students who had lived in the Muggle world since childhood still looked confused. Although they guessed that it was not a good word, they couldn't help but gasp and join the glaring team after hearing Sylvia's explanation. This is a derogatory term used by purebloods to refer to Muggleborns. It is an extremely dirty and despicable term. They believe that the blood of Muggleborns is like mud. This term is forbidden, but some purebloods, you know. Sylvia didn't finish her words, but based on the 2 or 3 months of getting along with each other, everyone could understand what she meant. Professor McGonagall clutched the clothes on her chest tightly. "Mr. Quink insulted a classmate from the same school. Slytherin will be deducted 100 points. I will tell Professor Slughorn that he will be detained for a month starting tonight." Mr. Potter, Black, Quink, and Mr. Winter beat each other. Each of them will be deducted 50 points and detained for a month. "Yes, Mr. Quink, you have 2 months of detention." Professor McGonagall emphasized this point. Quink, who had thought he could get away with only 1 month of detention, glared at James and Sirius. She didn't expect that the first grade is now more serious than the senior grade, referring to the discrimination. "I hope I won't hear any insults about classmates anymore." She turned and left the classroom, and everyone was surprised to realize that the class was over. The Gryffindors hurried to the Great Hall to have lunch as they had spells and flying classes in the afternoon. There weren't any accidents in the charms class, if you didn't count that unknown explosion. Sylvia looked at her table that was blown into pieces in silence. She really wanted to know how the spell behind her could be cast so accurately at her. She and Lily briefly looked at each other and found no signs of injury. Sylvia was very satisfied, saying it was okay, no big problem. Next comes the flying lesson. Speaking of flying lessons, we have to mention the group of out-of-control brooms. How did they agree to lose control on the same day? At first Sylvia didn't believe what her classmates said about the broom being broken, crazy, or having a seizure. She thought that they were just making excuses because their skills were not good enough. She was a little skeptical until she saw James being dangled from side to side on the broom. She knew that James liked to show off his flying talent, and this was just his basic skill. She had seen James perform many difficult moves. Unless James could fall off the broom, Sylvia Hops would not believe that there was no broom that James could not control. Wait, what did she see? James Potter falling off a broom? Fine, she took back what she had said and silently said sorry to her classmates in her heart. These broomsticks were really going crazy. Sylvia hurriedly ran to James. She now particularly agreed with what her classmates said. "Merlin, Mr. Potter, are you okay?" Fortunately, Madame Hooch arrived in time and caught James, who was only 1 centimeter from the ground. After confirming that James was okay, she patted her chest with some palpitations and took James to the medical wing without hesitation, even though the latter resisted. Sitting at the Gryffindor table, Sylvia had never felt a day so hectic that she didn't even have time to find Professor Dumbledore. But during the escort, yes, that's right, an escort, James, seeing that he couldn't refuse Madame Hooch, began to face it frankly. He even asked his best friend, Merlin, to accompany him the whole time. The 5 people stood next to James, and the huge team made people stop and observe. When James went to the hospital wing, she successfully asked for a bottle of dreamless sleeping potion, which was still a good gain. Chapter 30. It was already dark when Sylvia finished the homework assigned to her these days. She thought it would be impolite to disturb Professor Dumbledore now, in case the professor was busy. She should go to the restricted books section to check the information first. She heard that there was everything there. Hee, Sylvia rubbed her hands excitedly. She had been looking forward to that place for a long time. The first step to the restricted section is to get James's invisibility cloak. James and Sirius, two big night walkers, are in detention and don't need the invisibility cloak. As for Endrick, why is he hanging out at night when he hasn't finished his homework? Kick him out. The second step is to avoid the patrolling teachers and find the location of the library. The third is to successfully reach the restricted area of the library and look for suspicious books to browse through. The fourth step is to sneak back to the dormitory and end such a perfect night. Plan to get it. What? A ban on borrowing books? What is that? Sylvia said that since she didn't remember it, she didn't need it. What? Night blindness and directionally challenged? She can still use the fluorescent flashlight, so it's not a big problem. If you are directionally challenged, you can always find your way by walking, right? What? Can an invisibility cloak block the light emitted by fluorescent flashes? Can the light under the invisibility cloak illuminate normally? This is a good question. Sylvia couldn't answer it for the moment, but she would know if she tried. Humph, this is nothing. No one can stop a Gryffindor who wants to go on an adventure at night. Still there. Sylvia followed Dumbledore dejectedly. She wanted to know how she got to the headmaster's office. Wasn't there a gargoyle? Wasn't there a password? How did she get in so easily? Oh, Professor Dumbledore took care of her personally, so it's okay. How could this happen? Sylvia followed Professor Dumbledore with a dead heart. Should I say she is worthy of it? She met Professor Dumbledore who came back from outside, and was kindly reminded, "Oh, it's late, do you want to have a cup of tea?" Merlin, no matter how kind, friendly, and approachable Dumbledore is, this is not a reason for a student who walks at night not to be afraid of him. Knowing that she had been discovered, Sylvia silently took off her invisibility cloak and said, "I'm sorry, Professor. I shouldn't have come out at this time." Dumbledore was different from the other professors. He did not show any anger or even surprise, as if everything was within his expectations. He still looked at Sylvia with a smile. "Great invisibility cloak," he praised. Sylvia smiled awkwardly, and wanted to quickly skip this topic. Although Dumbledore would not rob students of their belongings, she didn't want to be remembered now. After all, they still had 7 years to stay here, and they couldn't do without the invisibility cloak. Anyway, Dumbledore knew that they would sneak out, so as long as they didn't take it away, it would be fine. "Haha, Professor, I just wanted to find you." Sylvia gave Dumbledore her signature smile. Oh. The always shrewd principal was now curious about what could have caused a little wizard to visit him so late at night. The two of them walked up the stairs to the office. Sitting on the small sofa opposite Dumbledore, Sylvia became nervous. How should she explain such a thing? Sylvia frowned, as if she was looking for a suitable beginning. "Don't be nervous, Miss Hobbs." Dumbledore used his wand to direct the teapot to pour a cup of tea for Sylvia. He reached out and pushed the dessert plate in front of him. "Would you like some? The elves at Hogwarts are very good at cooking." He blinked his eyes behind his half-moon glasses, and Sylvia was amused by him. "But, if my tooth hurts, Madame Pomfrey will be angry, right?" "Oh, it's a one-time thing, I think Poppy will forgive." After saying that, both of them laughed. "Professor, this is what happened," Sylvia said after organizing her thoughts. "A few nights ago, I planned to go to the kitchen to eat some cakes. It was normal for me to not be able to find the kitchen because I am night blind and have poor directions, but I found that on the 4th floor, there was a painting of Labadai and his banana tree stump. Even without a candle, I could still see it clearly, and it felt like someone was leading me there along the way." Dumbledore did not question the fact that there were no candles on the 4th floor. Sylvia was relieved and continued, "I had another terrible dream when I went back home that night." She didn't know whether Dumbledore was interested in the content of the dream. After all, no one was willing to listen to someone else telling a nonsensical dream unconditionally. Seeing that Dumbledore showed no impatience and looked at her with encouragement, Sylvia became bolder. "I felt like I was going to die. I'm sorry, Professor, I know it's strange but it's true, and I heard the voice of my lord. I don't know if it has anything to do with Voldemort, but I haven't seen him." It's not that Sylvia didn't tell Lily about her dream, it's just that she only remembered that she felt like she was going to die. She couldn't just say such things casually in case she scared Lily. Apart from this, she couldn't remember anything else, so it was understandable that she forgot it. Sylvia quietly made up for herself. Dumbledore didn't say anything. Sylvia just looked at Dumbledore. Then she felt that staring at him wasn't a good idea, so she looked around. What a coincidence that it matched the previous portrait of Principal Black. Not as good looking as Sirius. No wonder everyone doesn't like him, Sylvia commented truthfully. In fact, Principal Black is not ugly, he is just a little inferior to the current generation of Black. Phineas Black, who was inexplicably despised, sneezed. Strange, can portraits sneeze? Sylvia tilted her head and looked at the legendary unpopular principal, feeling a little curious. Okay, Miss Hobbs, I think I know something, but it will take time to verify. After a long pause, Dumbledore spoke slowly, it's late now, you should go to bed too, right? Sylvia nodded obediently. Her goal had been achieved. Although she felt a little regretful that she didn't make it to the restricted books area, there was still a long way to go and she would be able to sneak in one day. Chapter 31. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening when James and Sirius returned from detention. They happened to meet SIA, who had also just returned to the Gryffindor common room. Neither side could hide their surprise. Sylvia, you sneaked out without telling us. James felt betrayed. He looked at the girl he grew up with in shock. Sylvia narrowed her eyes in confusion, her tone full of puzzlement. Did I borrow the invisibility cloak from the air? Oh, I forgot. James rubbed his head awkwardly, making his already messy hair even messy. It's all because of Quink and that Slytherin. The two of them have been messing around. My mind is in a mess now. James thought for a long time about the name of the person he was in detention with, but unfortunately he couldn't remember it. Sylvia looked at the two troublesome boys suspiciously. What did she hear? James and Sirius said that someone else was making trouble? Hey, I guarantee that James is right. Sirius looked at Sylvia with dissatisfaction, making them look like troublemakers. Sylvia, aren't you guys? Sirius, well, they seem to be. Under Sylvia's death stare, Sirius had to admit that Sylvia was right. But today, it must be Slytherin's fault. Professor McGonagall handed us over to Filch. I really don't understand why he handed us over to him, and he asked us to clean the trophy room. At this point, Sirius wrinkled his nose. He still felt itchy and wanted to sneeze. Merlin, you really should go and see how dirty it is in there. That's right, we only cleaned one cabinet and it took us all night. It's not easy. Sylvia found it interesting to praise someone at the right time. Tisk, look at those boys being praised. Sure enough, the two boys became even more excited. They felt that only Sylvia could understand them, while Andric and Remus would only laugh at them for not being able to even remove dust. You mean Lily Evans? Oh, she doesn't care about anything that has nothing to do with studying. And Sylvia? You mean Severus Snape? Hey, who is this? They don't know. The two people who felt like they had found a confidant sat on Sylvia's left and right, trapping her tightly on the sofa, as if they were going to tie her up if she dared to run. Sylvia could only pretend to be listening attentively. You know, the cabinet is very high and we can't reach it now. James said. I don't know, Sylvia thought to herself, but still had an expression of yes, I know. When we finally finished wiping one, Quink and that Slytherin got a bucket of slugs from somewhere and dumped it on our locker. How disgusting! Sirius said angrily. Oh no, he should have shouted this sentence. Wow, this is a tough one. How did they get this out? Did they spit it out? Sylvia nodded in agreement. Yes, it was disgusting. Then we had a fight with them. James was a little proud. The other party was beaten badly and probably wouldn't cause trouble for a long time in the future. Wow, that's great, can I go now? Sylvia began to feel sleepy, and she regretted her support. The two men were obviously excited and began to explain to her the details of beating someone up and even tried to teach her. No. The duo, who noticed that Sylvia was distracted, turned to look at her. You haven't told us what you were doing. What a wonderful night, why don't we chat, Sylvia? You know we haven't talked for a long time. Being stared at by James, Sylvia felt a little frightened. Listen to what she said. If she wasn't familiar with these two people, there would be a rumor tomorrow that a fallen girl appeared in Gryffindor. Okay. Sylvia surrendered. She realized that if she didn't say it, she might not be able to return to the warm bed tonight. Tell me quickly, or we'll prevent you from attending potions class tomorrow. Slughorn likes you very much. Sirius added appropriately. Looking at Sirius's typical villain smile, Sylvia believed even more that they were not good people. Lily! Help me! No matter how much he cried in his heart, Lily, who was sleeping soundly, would not hear it. I'm going to the restricted section. Cool. Before she could finish her words, she heard two people whistling, and she said that the whistling was a complete failure. Will you please listen to me? Don't interrupt me. Okay. James and Sirius finally calmed down, and Sylvia nodded with satisfaction. I plan to wear an invisibility cloak to avoid the professors, go to the restricted section of the library first, find what I want to read, and come back later. It's a perfect plan. I will add 50 points to Gryffindor, dear Miss Sylvia. Sirius was amused by Sylvia's plan. But you? James spoke hesitantly. He was thinking about how to say it so as not to hurt Sylvia. After all, well, that's right. Yeah, so I went to the principal's office. Even though Sylvia said it so calmly, she actually had her own plan, to go to the principal's office alone. She was very satisfied to see James and Sirius open their mouths wide. She was sure she could fit a dinosaur egg in. What? James jumped up, that's really cool. What did Professor Dumbledore say? What did you do? What does the headmaster's office look like? You have to ask them one by one, James. Okay, then I'll ask first. Sirius, who had returned to normal, was more concerned about the invisibility cloak. He hoped it hadn't been confiscated, as he wanted to wear it out to play. Invisibility cloak, is he okay? Yes, these boys gave life to the invisibility cloak. Come on, it's an invisibility cloak that can cover them up when they go out to play. Oh. Yes. Invisibility cloak, how is he? James realized it later and was a little worried now. Don't worry, he's fine. Sylvia said quickly, Professor Dumbledore didn't confiscate it. Hey! The two of them breathed a sigh of relief. They immediately realized that this meant that Dumbledore actually knew about their night outing? And he didn't care about them? Yay! Even Dumbledore approved of this night tour. Then, the principal's office. James still didn't give up. Ah, the principal's office. Sylvia dragged out the words, whetting their appetites. The tea is delicious, and the special dessert for the principal is delicious. She paused for a moment. Phineas Black is a bit ugly, not as good looking as you, Sirius. After saying this quickly, Sylvia ran to the entrance of the male and female dormitories. Okay, I'm going back to sleep. Here's the invisibility cloak for you, James. Seeing Sylvia disappear, James and Sirius were a little caught off guard. Invisibility cloak? Where is it? I am good looking, she said. I am good looking. Why am I not handsome? Chapter 32. Sylvia didn't care how shocked her two good friends were. She ran back to the dormitory happily, and after resolving a big issue in her heart, she fell asleep feeling relaxed. Horace Slughorn was indeed a knowledgeable potions professor, but in other aspects, Shia felt it was difficult to evaluate him. After all, she had just turned down an invitation from the Slug Club. Shia, what did Professor Slughorn ask you to do just now? Lily had no interest in prying into other people's privacy, but Shia's expression seemed too forced. The professor just invited me to the Slug Club on Sunday. It's full of pure-blood wizards. Slug Club? I know that. James heard the familiar words and joined the conversation. He also invited us, but we all declined. I really don't know what the old stubborn man is thinking. Anyway, I prefer wandering around the castle rather than doing this. Sirius has always been like this. He hates some pure-blood gatherings, and everyone is used to it. But Lily didn't expect that Andric also agreed. Compared to James, who was too lively and curious about everything, Andric was obviously more stable than him, but only a little. However, this 1 point will be magnified in front of the professor. If the 1 point in front of friends is 10%, then it will be 50% in front of the professor. Sylvia scoffed at this and said that the real face hidden under Andric's mask would be revealed sooner or later. Lily recalled that when she asked what the real face was, Sylvia talked to her for an hour. James can be said to be the simplest one. He is very easy to understand and shows his joy on his face. He basically has no bad temper and is always passionate about life. Sirius was like his opposite. His emotions were still expressed on his face, but they were usually cold and indifferent. If he wasn't with James and Sia, Lily could hardly imagine such a person being friends with her. Remus is just as humble, gentle, polite, and studious as he appears to be. This is not Lily's exaggeration, it's just the truth. As for Andric, Lily could hardly say that she understood Andric. At first she thought Andric would be of the same type as James, and indeed he was, but he also had some of the shadows of Sirius and Remus in him. Merlin, that's a weird thing to say. Lily stopped her wild thoughts in time and focused her attention back on her friend. Andric rarely maintained his good image in front of the professor, which made Lily even more curious about what this was. So why? No one answered Lily's question directly. Everyone smiled in an intriguing way. Just wait. You will be invited, too, Lily. Me? Lily was a little incredulous. It wasn't that she didn't have confidence in herself, but she just couldn't understand why she was invited. Slughorn likes people with powerful backgrounds, but he can also discover people he thinks have potential and strength. Andric commented on their potions professor impartially. Coincidentally, you are the one with extraordinary talent. Don't look at me like that, I'm telling the truth, Lily. Andric is right. You are excellent. We all know that. After being praised by the Hope's brother and sister, Lily's face was already flushed. Really? I'm so glad you guys praise me like that, but, what did you invite me to do? Chat with those purebloods. Lily's blush didn't fade away until the very end. Thinking of those purebloods who looked down on people, Lily revealed a look of disgust. Ha ha ha, that's why we refused. James didn't miss Lily's expression. He laughed exaggeratedly. I didn't expect there are things you can't do, Evans. Shut up, Potter. James is an amazing person, he has no bad intentions, he is just spoiled. He imagines that he can be the most brave and fearless warrior in the legend and do everything to uphold justice, but he always uses his energy in the wrong way, attracting everyone's attention, expressing emotions exaggeratedly, and arguing with Slytherin. These may not seem like a big problem, but our Lily Evans also has her own set of standards, and James at this moment just meets the minimum of what she considers a friend, for the sake of Sylvia and Andric. That's why we don't want to go, but Severus will definitely be invited, you can go with him. Sylvia wisely didn't say that the invited people could bring a friend with them, she knew Lily would definitely bring her. Although she was also invited, she was the one who refused. Oh, yes, Sylvia has been recognized by Severus Snape to call her by his Christian name, but he refused to call her Sylvia or Sylvia, and still called her Miss Hopes. This substantial progress happened last week. When Sylvia was discussing potions with him, he revealed that he had many potion recipes at home, but some of them were so old that the handwriting was a little blurred. Seeing a hint of desire in Severus's eyes, Sylvia said that she would bring some when she returned from vacation so that they could study them together. Fortunately, Sylvia has always been well-rounded. Although her potion skills are not as good as Lily and Severus, they are only slightly better than hers. Since the future potion master did not show any denial towards her, it meant affirmation. Sylvia, who was always good at making judgments, thought so. Because of the slight connection between the potion formula and Lily, the two were finally able to live in peace. Yay! One step closer to saving Severus from the Death Eaters. Sylvia is always optimistic, at least she tries. Chapter 33. Really, seriously. Lily sat down on the sofa in the lounge. You are right, the Slug Club is really boring. Hey, stop laughing. Seeing her friends all showing gloating smiles, Lily was dissatisfied and spoke out. Baby, you should have known it earlier, right after we all said no. Sylvia put her arms around Lily's shoulders and laughed the happiest. I should have known that, but Sev really wants to go. Lily frowned again when she mentioned this. She really cared about this friend she had known for a long time. Merlin, I didn't know Slytherin was like this. The Slug Club is not entirely composed of purebloods and Slytherins, but they make up the largest proportion anyway. Correspondingly, those non-pureblood and non-Slytherin students will feel very uncomfortable in it, and cannot avoid being discriminated against even if they are excellent. I didn't expect that Sev would be in such a situation in Slytherin. Lily's emotions have been fluctuating greatly since she came back. When she talked about this, everyone could clearly feel that her hair was burning like a fireplace. Of course, everyone just thought about it but didn't dare say it out loud. No one wanted to anger a Gryffindor who was already furious at this time. You only care about bloodline, and you don't even care about a classmate in the academy. Is bloodline really that important? Of course not. The bloodline theory is the most absurd one. Every college has people who support the bloodline theory, but Lily happens not to have any of them. Today is the first time she has faced them directly. In the past, Sylvia and the others were by her side, and most of the classmates would not speak rudely to her. They only dared to whisper behind her back. And it just so happened that our James and Sirius had very good hearing, so after being beaten a few times, no one dared to say anything anymore. The main reason was that they discovered Lily's excellence. Once again, no one can resist the charm of Lily Evans. So Snape shouldn't have gone to Slytherin. I don't know which boy said this. It can't be said that he was gloating, but the emotion in his words made the two girls present feel uncomfortable. But what's the difference between your school discrimination and those bloodline discriminations? Everyone has a college that suits them, and everyone has a college they want to go to, right? The Sorting Hat is respecting our wishes, but you're still doing this. Also, Severus is our friend. Even if he isn't, you should show some concern for him considering the time we've spent together. Gentlemen. Under Sylvia's continuous attacks, Andric and the others didn't make a sound. At this moment, they still couldn't understand why Sylvia was so angry. The deeply rooted ideas in their minds have always been that Gryffindor is brave and fearless, Hufflepuff is gentle and friendly, Ravenclaw is smart and clever, and Slytherin is insidious and cunning. After Sylvia finished speaking, she pulled Lily away angrily. Even after they walked far out of the lounge, Sylvia's chest was still heaving violently. What's going on? Shia is arguing with us over a Slytherin. I suppose so. She's rarely this angry. Tisk. The four people expressed different opinions on what had just happened. After a discussion, they decided to have a cold war with Sylvia. I have to say, they are a bunch of bastards. Sylvia and Lily quickly adjusted their mood after leaving. They would not put all their energy into getting angry with the boys. Thanks to Lily's early departure, they still had a long time before going back to bed, and the two little witches happily decided to practice spells in the abandoned classroom. Verbal attacks are not always pleasant, but at this moment they have to admit that strength is the supreme truth. Just think about how comfortable it would be if those stupid boys couldn't beat them. Severus. As soon as she opened the door, Sylvia saw Severus brewing a potion in silence. Is it over with Professor Slughorn? No. Severus' mood was visibly bad. Originally, he didn't want to pay attention to the other party, but for the sake of the potion formula and Lily, he still uttered a word indifferently. Sylvia didn't care about this and turned around to practice the spells she had learned. Lily on the side couldn't stand it anymore. She knew that Sev didn't like to communicate with others, but today she couldn't help it. Severus, you can't do this. Sylvia, who had just taken out her wand, glanced over. She had never seen Lily be so serious to Severus. Severus, who was called by his full name, stopped what he was doing and looked at Lily in surprise. It was obvious that he didn't know why Lily suddenly behaved like this. I know you've never really liked communicating with others, but Sylvia is different. Severus gave me a look that said, what's the difference? Sylvia took a deep breath. What? Me? Lily also took a deep breath. She was a little annoyed by Severus' attitude. Just now, Sylvia defended you in front of James. It doesn't matter if you don't know it. I believe Sylvia is not someone who will take these things literally. But since you have studied potions together, be more enthusiastic towards her. Sylvia thought that she might be more accustomed to a sarcastic Severus, but Lily was such an angel. After saying that, she pulled Sylvia away angrily, leaving Severus Snape standing in a daze in the classroom. The witch, who had left the table twice in anger, wandered to the kitchen. Thanks to Lily, she remembered the direction clearly after going there once. This time they didn't have to crawl around the castle for an hour, nor did they encounter patrolling professors or Filch during curfew. Sitting on the small sofa in the kitchen, Sylvia looked at Lily. Thinking of what she said to Severus, Sylvia couldn't hide the admiration and emotion in her eyes. Why? James Potter. In any case, today, these people spoke out before these problems fermented and exploded. Chapter 34. I can't stand it anymore. I can't ignore SIA. Don't think I don't know that you guys have been talking in private. I'm the one who hasn't spoken to her. Sirius supported himself on the bed with his hands, watching Andric pacing back and forth anxiously in the dormitory, feeling a little annoyed. What? Of course I can talk to her. What I'm saying is, why can't we talk openly? Andric stopped and looked at Sirius in disbelief. When will this damn Cold War end? He ruffled his hair like James usually did, accidentally pulling out a few strands, which made him feel even darker. I don't know. James' voice was also a little muffled, I don't understand why. He turned an inquiring look towards his friend, but instead of receiving an answer, he received an equally confused response. Did we say anything extreme that day? Snape shouldn't have gone to Slytherin. Andric repeated it in full. He remembered clearly everything that happened that day. But it would be better for him to be in Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw than in Slytherin. Well, have you ever thought about your own problems? I mean, do you understand what Sylvia said? As soon as Remus opened his mouth, he attracted everyone's attention. Looking at the inquiring eyes of several people, he sighed deeply. He finally understood where the problem lay. Well, I guess they're not without reason to be angry. He put down the book in his hand and walked to the door. My mother has been in poor health recently. I need to take a leave to go back to see her for a few days. I hope you will have reconciled when I come back. After saying that, he left without looking back. He had been here for too long and couldn't stay any longer. Although he wanted to solve this problem directly, but... After he left, James said in a tangled voice, well... I mean, why does Remus' mother get sick for a few days every month? James felt more and more confused. His life at Hogwarts was nothing like what he had imagined. Sirius did think of something, but the thought came so quickly that he didn't have time to catch it. After Remus left, Andric buried his head in the quilt. Being treated coldly by his sister, he lost all ability to think at this moment, and he had no intention of caring about other things. Thank you for your hard work, Hess. Sylvia touched the owl's head, took out the cookies she had prepared, and then took down the letter that the little girl brought for her. Was it sent by your parents? Lily sat next to Sylvia, looking at her happy expression with some curiosity. No, it's not. Sylvia shook her head, it's a letter from Regulus. Regulus? Black's brother. Yes, that's right. Why didn't Rail write to me? Two voices sounded at the same time. It was Sirius who had just walked into the auditorium and happened to overhear their conversation. Yes, if you write to him, too. Apart from anything else, it was fortunate that Sylvia spoke to him for the first time in the past few days. Sirius touched his nose uncomfortably. Well, it was his fault. Sirius, feeling no guilt at all, silently said sorry to Regulus in his heart. Hey, brother. Congratulations, Sylvia is willing to talk to you. You are finally not the only one who is left out. James put his arm around Sirius's shoulders and said optimistically. Yes, just one sentence. If you weren't mocking me, I would be happier. Sirius's face darkened visibly. What else do you mean by the only one? Sylvia told him to get out of the way in the morning. Andric, who was following them silently, said this quietly, and soon he returned to his ghostly appearance. If Andric's comments were heard by the ghosts living in Hogwarts, they would definitely shout in dissatisfaction that they were much better than him. Sirius raised an eyebrow, his eyes slightly sympathetic. Meeting his brother's gaze, James was confused. That's a good sign, isn't it? Merlin. As soon as James came out, Sirius once again felt sad that his brother only had a teaspoon of emotional intelligence. He slipped out from under James' arm, patted his shoulder and said, if you think so. Andric kept his absent-minded look and followed the two of them. However, his state did not attract any attention from Sylvia. She was now completely focused on Regulus' letter. Oh. Regulus said his cousin eloped. Sylvia quickly read the first page. It seemed that Andromeda Black had left. Regulus only spoke briefly without going into detail. If one wanted to know the whole story, one would have to wait until they met. However, considering that Sirius joined Gryffindor and Andromeda eloped, she would not be able to see Regulus in the short term. She was still thinking of inviting Regulus to spend Christmas together. Sure enough, the second page began with Regulus apologetically saying that he couldn't go to her house. Sylvia, who had been mentally prepared, couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. But... She widened her eyes. I actually forgot. Looks like I have to change my plans. With Lily looking slightly puzzled, Sylvia handed her the letter. The boys who didn't miss their every move are now really curious about what was written in the letter that could make these two react like this. What? Hiss. It's a bit difficult. Sylvia said with a little distress. What's the big deal? Sirius thought that as Regulus's brother and she as good friend, his sense of mission in this dual role made him speak first. Yes, it's a very important matter. We won't say any more. We're leaving first. After leaving these words, Sylvia and Lily left in a hurry. The boys, whose curiosity was completely piqued, were feeling anxious at the moment. No matter how delicious the food was, it could not attract them now. Andric followed closely behind Sylvia, but he was still a step too slow. When he ran out of the auditorium, Sylvia was no longer in sight. This scene was very familiar and gave him a very bad feeling. All he wanted to do was find Sylvia as soon as possible, regardless of whether they were in a cold war or not, or whether Sylvia was angry or not. Even if he didn't understand why Sylvia ignored them, he would take the initiative to reconcile now, even if he really didn't understand. But he didn't realize that the ice between them had been broken. Where are they? James stood beside Andric and kept looking around. It would be great if there was a map that showed everyone's location. We wouldn't have to worry about not finding them. What James said unintentionally struck Andric and Sirius's heart. They frowned slightly and thought about the feasibility. This not only requires a large amount of spell reserves, but also requires a thorough understanding of the castle's terrain, which is a huge project. But damn, it's heartwarming. Chapter 35. They didn't see Sylvia and Lily the whole afternoon. No, to be more precise, it was only Sirius. While they were still playing boring wizard chess in the common room, Wizard Chess believed that they were bored because of their poor skills. James and Andric suddenly said they wanted to go to the library to read some books, which didn't sound like a legitimate reason. We are going to the library. Sirius, please wait for us in the common room. He really didn't follow up, and for the whole afternoon. Did he mean that for the whole afternoon, no one remembered him? Sirius sank into the sofa, leaning against the back of the sofa and staring at the ceiling absent-mindedly. Why did they think that choosing to go to the library was an excuse to leave him behind? Well, they were right. But it's really hard to spend a day like this. When will Sylvia come back? I haven't had a good talk with her yet. What on earth were Andric and James doing? I'll have to interrogate them when they come back. Evans, forget it, just stop causing trouble in front of her, otherwise Sylvia will ignore him again. And Remus was never there at every crucial moment. What he meant was that when he tried to find Remus, who was on good terms with the girls, he was never there. Remus. Merlin, he had forgotten all about Remus, and now he had time to study his secrets. It certainly wasn't that Madame Lupin was always ill. But isn't this a bad thing? Is it an invasion of his privacy? Sirius sneered, he didn't expect there was something that Black found bad. Forget it, I'll just write a letter to Lear. It's time to maintain this brotherhood. But, what should I write? Write about his life at Hogwarts? It's too exciting and I'm afraid Lear will be jealous. Writing about his night out with his buddies? Oh, Lear would be jealous too. Write that he can go to Sylvia's house for Christmas? He doesn't want to lose this brother yet. I can't do it. While Sirius was still thinking about what to write, he vaguely heard Andric's voice. But we were successful before, why is that? It shouldn't be an auditory hallucination, otherwise how could he hear Andric and Sylvia together? A person who said he was going to the library was with a missing person? Hi, Sirius. James spoke awkwardly behind them. He didn't expect Sirius to be waiting in the lounge. Let me see, who is this? The studious James Potter and Andre Hops, and the missing Thea Hops and Lily Evans. He crossed his arms and looked at the four people. Oh, who's behind? Remus Lupin, who asked for leave. Sirius' tone was really not good. Several people felt a deep sense of crisis, and an instinctive reaction made them step forward. Without giving them time to explain, Sirius continued, why didn't Snape come with you? Oh, I forgot, he can't enter the Gryffindor common room. Under his fierce verbal attacks and strong eye gazes, several people were almost shrinking into the corner and trembling. Several people pushed and shoved, not daring to move forward. Sylvia felt the power from all sides converging on her, meaning that she was pushed to the front, facing Sirius. Ah, Sirius! Sylvia stuttered, looking at Sirius' face, which could make all the girls in the school excited at such a young age, but was wrinkled because of them. Sylvia secretly despised herself. She walked forward and looked at Sirius. The two people, who were not much different in height, stared at each other in silence for a while. Finally, Sirius gave in and said, well, you must tell me what you did this afternoon. I don't believe that James and Andric will stay in the library obediently. His intuition told him not to involve Remus now. The other party's secret might not be so easy to be discovered. In other words, the other party might not want them to find out. Come with us. Seeing Sirius's expression softened, James ran excitedly between Sylvia and Sirius, trying to grab Sirius' sleeve. Forget it. My sleeves are not worthy of being pulled by the studious James. Sirius ducked back, avoiding James's movement. Andric walked forward with a smile. James, it seems that the title of Sirius' best brother belongs to me. What are you talking about? Bookish Andric. Oh, come on, Sirius. Andric shamelessly moved closer to Sirius. For some reason, Sirius did not treat Andric the same way he treated James. He still had a cold face and looked at Sylvia across the two people. Let's go. Where are you taking me? Remus poked Lily. Do you think we're redundant? It better not. Lily snorted coldly. Damn Sirius Black, what right did he have? Oh. Remus groaned. He felt that there were no normal people now. But he still honestly followed the crowd. He thought he was now trapped and couldn't get out, so he should just continue like this if possible. He didn't dare to think about what would happen if they found out about that. He would have to leave Hogwarts, lose them, and be in agony. But Remus could feel that this secret would not be kept secret for long. No one would notice an ordinary classmate, but James and the others would. After being together for so long, he still takes 1 or 2 days off every month, which in itself is suspicious enough. Besides, Shia and Sirius were both good at astronomy. Lily was also a smart and careful witch, and James and Andric cared about him enough, so it was only a matter of time before they discovered the secret. What should I do then? Remus thought with some worry. Over the years he had gotten used to traveling around with his parents, and had been able to get through those painful nights, but he couldn't leave these friends, couldn't leave the castle that embraced him. James and Andric took the lead, followed by Shia and Sirius. Lily kept staring at Sirius, and Remus was like the man who hid his achievements and fame. Then they arrived at the Hogwarts kitchens. What? Don't tell me you spent the entire afternoon in the kitchen. What for? Eating the whole time. Sylvia felt that Sirius was projecting something, and she looked at Sirius dangerously. Oh, I'm not talking about you, Sylvia. Sirius realized something was wrong and tried to remedy it, but the effect was obviously not very good. Sylvia retracted her dangerous gaze, but not her dissatisfaction. Hurry up, I can't wait any longer. Standing in front of the brightly lit painting, James gently tickled a pear in the painting. Several people looked at it and laughed, then turned the green handle, and they saw. Chapter 36. Snape. Sirius was shocked. Why did he see him here? No, he didn't mean anything else, he meant that Snape didn't seem like the type of person to be here. You should have known with your stupid brain that I didn't want to be here. Everyone is used to the tit-for-tat between the two people, and skillfully pulling the two people apart and isolating them is something they often do. Snape stood beside Lily in unusual silence. He really felt like his brain had been eaten by a troll to agree to such a ridiculous request, even if it was Lily's request. The house elves were doing their own things in an orderly manner, but their big eyes drifted over here from time to time. They felt extremely uncomfortable when they saw the little wizards did not come forward to say hello. Sirius, we're sorry we didn't bring you here today. We were planning to tell you in the evening, but something went wrong. It was still Sylvia who stood at the front and talked to Sirius. She looked at him awkwardly, twisting the hem of her clothes. Sirius did not miss this little action. So what's going on? That's right, how should I put it, today is November 2nd. Sylvia struggled to say this. Merlin. So that's how it is. Sirius suddenly realized what was going on. But what's the problem? He was a little nervous. What could happen? What could happen? He was afraid that he might not be able to bear it. Our original plan was to finish the cake before 12 o'clock, but it's difficult for us. James didn't seem to have any burden, if you ignored his wandering eyes. Although Sylvia and I have made cakes before, you know, I always get a little help from my mom at home. Yes, those are the most important help. Sylvia felt even more guilty. It was me who came up with the idea, but I overestimated myself. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Sirius said hurriedly, I'm glad you remembered and prepared so much. But It's okay, come on, I just want to try how to make a cake for myself. Lily never said the words I should have learned how to make a cake from Penny a long time ago, or rather, she never had the chance to say them. Since it's his birthday, I won't say much. Damn Sirius Black. Snape still looked indifferent. Boring birthday party. He sneered, Hops's vision is not very good. I really look forward to seeing the expression of the other Hops after he finds out. It must be exciting, but the later he finds out, the more interesting it will be. Okay, let's figure out how to make a cake together. Sirius had no intention of blaming them at all. He followed Sylvia's words and came to the house elf. Oh. Oh. Dear little wizard, how can I help you? He opened his copper bell-like eyes wide and looked at Sirius eagerly. Can you bake a cake? Can you help us? Yes, yes. The little wizard asked Kaka to help him make the cake. The house elf named Kaka grabbed his big ears and shouted excitedly, but as if that was not enough, he knelt down and wanted to kowtow, but was stopped by Sylvia in time. No need to do this, Kaka. Perhaps the tone was a little too gentle. Kaka had no intention of stopping the action, but because Sylvia stopped him, he did not continue. Ahem, I mean you can't do this. Sylvia cleared her throat. She really didn't know how to get along with the elves. They were too enthusiastic. Lily, who had seen the elves in the afternoon, found it difficult to say anything. She was still not used to the elves' ways. After Sylvia stopped Kaka, she walked up and said gently, Kaka, how do you make the cake? Seeing Kaka getting excited again, Sylvia cleared her throat again. You can call me Sylvia, this is Lily. She introduced several people's names one by one. The elf looked like he was about to faint, but he still remembered Sylvia's words. He didn't make any movements, but his eyes filled with tears expressed everything. I will solve all problems for Miss Sylvia. Kaka screamed. Hey! That's not the case, Kaka said to stir it clockwise. Do you think this is a potion? Must it be stirred clockwise? Lily and James' voices became louder and louder, neither of them giving in to the other. I thought you could mix it quickly. Sylvia popped her head out from behind them and lowered her voice. The sudden voice startled the two people who were arguing. Sylvia! Don't you two have a good understanding of each other? Sylvia looked at the two of them jokingly. You can even argue about the direction of stirring. That's great. Shia accidentally saw Snape whipping cream in the dark over there. She shivered and walked silently to Andric. Now, only when I'm with Andric I won't be blamed. Sirius, the master of the birthday, everything comes for him. Remus, stand with Sirius. James, making a cake intimately with Lily. Lily, well, she can do no wrong. Only Andric. He's safe. Feeling someone coming to him, maybe it was the twins' special sense, Andric didn't even raise his head. Sylvia, why are you here? Aren't you and Snape whipping cream? Ah, because Snape looks darker. Perhaps the twins' induction failed at this moment. Andric did not understand what Sylvia was saying for a moment. He raised his head, and then. You're right, I agree with you. Andric retreated tactically, it was so scary that he could even hug his sister and tremble. He followed Snape's gaze. Ah, James. Wish him good luck, in every sense of the word. Sometimes, brotherhood is weak. For example, at this moment, Andric could have told James, but he chose to remain silent. You ask why? Come on, there is fun to be had with brothers, who would want to miss it? With the unremitting efforts of several people, this cake, which was born amid everyone's expectations, was finally made before 12 o'clock. They carefully held the hard-earned cake, and Kaka looked proud and happy. I say, cake is to be eaten. But we worked very hard. But that's also its mission. In the end, I couldn't bear to eat it. Tisk, shut up James, you don't have to eat it. You can't do this. I contributed a lot. The emotional Graham Potter. Snape changed his original words under Lily's glare. The clock hanging in the kitchen struck 12, and the little wizards raised their hands and said loudly, Happy birthday, Sirius. Sylvia took advantage of the chaos to come to Sirius and quietly handed him something. Sirius, happy birthday. Remember to go back and take a look. I asked Andric to put the gift from Lear next to your bed. Sirius tightly grasped the thing Sylvia handed to him and nodded solemnly. Nothing was more important than this, he thought. Chapter 37. This was the 49th night that Sirius had fallen asleep looking at the star map. It was a new habit he had developed, and he couldn't fall asleep without looking at it. Come on, man. Andric jumped onto Sirius' bed. I don't understand why you like this so much. Because your name is Star. I've never seen you care so much about the gift I gave you. James and Andric surrounded Sirius on the left and right. They studied the picture carefully, turning it left and right, but they really didn't find any difference. Maybe it's because Sylvia sent it. Remus couldn't stand it anymore and planned to expose the matter, and he did it. He really wanted to see James and Andric's shocked expressions, it would definitely be interesting. Remus was silent, so he asked that question, damn Andric Hops. What? Why? Andric was indeed shocked. Sylvia gives me many gifts like this every year. To be honest, I'm already looking forward to this year's Christmas gift. Me too. James and Andric put their arms around Sirius' shoulders, and he waved behind him for Remus to join the three of them. Excuse me. Remus wanted to stay away from these idiots from the bottom of his heart. He believed that Sirius thought the same because he heard Sirius's impatient voice. Shut up, Andric. He glanced at his friend with black hair and green eyes. He was beginning to hate this configuration. And you, James, get off my bed. I want to sleep. Listen, listen. James said in amazement, what are you talking about? Give up our night tour and be a good baby who goes to bed early and gets up early. Andric put his hands over his heart. I think we're getting a brand new friend, James dear. Oh, yes, a brand new friend. The two looked at each other affectionately through Sirius. Dear Andric, don't worry, I won't abandon you. Me too. Remus, who had already drawn the bed curtains, heard two loud noises. It was just Andric and James being kicked off the bed by Sirius. It was not a big problem. He calmly read another page of the book. Have you packed your things? Christmas vacation is about to start. James got up from the ground skillfully, patted his clothes, walked to his bed and saw the opened box. It was filled with clothes in a mess. He could vaguely see the textbooks pressed at the bottom, which must have been stuffed in there by the owner at random. Sirius was willing to draw back the curtains of his bed and poked his head out of the bed. Of course. This is my first time to spend Christmas at someone else's house. He shook his head. The lying position made him feel dizzy, so he quickly turned over. With a glance, he saw the stargazing telescope that he had placed solemnly. Before he received the hand-drawn star map by Sylvia, his favorite thing to do was to use this to look at the stars at night. Look at the brightest star and look at the heart of Leo. After seeing Sylvia receive Regulus' letter, he decided to restore their brotherhood. He meant that Regulus would ruthlessly kick him out, after the other party remembered his birthday and he didn't even write him a letter. I wonder when Lear can reply to me. He pulled the carpet on the floor with one hand and supported his head with the other hand, looking thoughtful. Sirius, don't be like this. Andric couldn't help but shudder when he saw Sirius like this. You should know that you have written him no less than 30 letters during this period. And you are not suitable for this style. Does it mean I have to lose my qualifications to be your brother? Sirius sat up suddenly, I'm just trying to repair the relationship between us brothers. If it helps, I remember you wrote more than 10 letters saying you were going to Andric's house for Christmas. Remus was always the one who got to the point. I think Regulus will hate you even more. Merlin. Sirius sat up again, surprised, did I write so much? I thought I only wrote 1 or 2 sentences. The conversation between the boys in the dormitory ended here, as they had more important things to do. On the other hand, the two girls are much more harmonious. They are leaning against each other, holding their favorite Dobudora, a cute fox doll. I can't believe I'm going to spend Christmas at your house. I've never been to a wizard's house before. Lily said excitedly. Will you have a magic closet with everything you want, or flying brooms and green bubbling potions? Oh, Lily. Sylvia reached out and pinched her face. You are so cute. However, we don't have a magic closet. We do have a magic fireplace. It's not that we can have whatever we want, but we can go wherever we want through the Flow network. And aren't we learning how to use flying brooms and potions? I don't think there is much difference between wizards and muggles. I forgot all about it. I'm a wizard. I'm so excited. Petunia will be there too. What do I need to do? Fly over on a broom? You know I'm not a very good flyer. Lily, you're too nervous, and your flying is only moderately good compared to other subjects. I've never seen a girl fly better than you, except for Quidditch players. Don't worry, not all wizards go out on brooms, not even our family. James is another example, he can't wait to ride his precious broom wherever he goes. Just wait and see, when he can carry a broom in his second year, he will definitely be the first to sign up for Quidditch. I can already imagine how stupid he will be. While answering Lily's question, Sylvia also did not forget to give her a warning to prevent James from being disliked by Lily because of his behavior. She is so thoughtful. I will reward you with an egg tart tomorrow. Oh, and also an apple pie made by Mom. She can't wait to go home. Mom would definitely prepare rooms for Lily and Petunia, but she thought the three of them would spend all nights in one room. The same goes for that group of boys. They won't miss any minute they are together, especially when they can do bad things. Merlin blessed that everything could go on normally. She didn't want Andric and the others to be grounded during Christmas. She had been looking forward to playing together for a long time. Chapter 38. Sylvia had packed up early and was waiting in the common room. She couldn't wait to go home. It wasn't that she meant to say that Hogwarts was bad, she just missed her parents a little. She missed the chocolate pudding her mother made and the wizard chess she played with her father. It's so annoying. I didn't miss home this much even when I was in class. Why do I miss it more and more as the holiday approaches? And where's Andric? Why hasn't he come down yet? If they don't come now, they will miss breakfast. They have to take a whole day's train ride. Where are Andric and the others? Why haven't they come yet? Lily came down with Sylvia. When she saw the clock in the lounge was constantly moving, she realized that it was very close to the scheduled gathering time. I don't know. Let's go to the auditorium and get something to eat. If we're lucky, we can even get them something to eat. Sylvia shook her head. Although girls could enter the boys' dormitory at will, she didn't want to go. Think about it, their rooms are messy at home, how can they be clean and tidy when they go to Hogwarts? After putting away their luggage, the two hurried to the auditorium. The house elves helped to carry their luggage to the train, but there was no food. You know, the snacks on the train are delicious but not filling. Finally found you. James pushed open the door of the box and sat down next to Sylvia. Sylvia saw the sweat on his forehead. It was December now, and it was not easy to sweat. What time did you get up? Why are you running like this? She took out her own tissue and handed it to James, but the hand that was extended was not James's. Hey, Sirius, what are you doing? James wiped his sweat with his sleeve in dissatisfaction. He actually had a tissue. Even the most untidy boy would not use his sleeves if there was paper. James was not untidy, he was just not good at taking care of himself. Merlin, who knows why his neatly folded clothes become messy once they are put in the box. This is no reason to treat him as a dirty boy. It's okay to talk about Andric and him, but Remus is the one who does the most cleaning in the dormitory. And Sirius, he saw that he had been subscribing to the magazine Charming Wizards. It's similar to the one a witch has, and it contains perfumes, jewelry, and the like. Every time he saw it, he wanted to scream, Sirius Black, you're only in first year. Which witch are you trying to charm? But no matter what, James firmly believed that he would bring back Sirius, who had sold his body for justice, and he would not allow his brother to fall. He was sure that Andric, Remus, and even Shea Lily would support him. The culprit of the whole incident is now sitting next to Sylvia. He cruelly drove his best friend to Lily and knew nothing about the other person's inner thoughts. Sylvia was stunned for a moment as she watched the magic trick in front of her, but she continued, I have some pies for you. Have some first. Seeing the girl in front of him blinking obediently, Sirius somehow reached out his hand. Sylvia saw Sirius's outstretched hand and directly handed the pies to him, here you go. Pfft. Lily saw the whole process from the best viewing spot. She couldn't help but laugh. It was so funny. But damn Sirius Black, you're only in first year. What? What are you laughing at? And why are you so happy too, Remus? Andric's head turned back and forth in front of several people. He didn't notice anything wrong, so he sat directly between Sylvia and Sirius, and said to the latter to move over. This time, even Snape, who had been reading a book, couldn't help but raise his head and let out a sarcastic smile. James' eyes widened. He poked his head out from beside Lily. Why are you here? Snape, who was sitting by the window, didn't show it on his face, but in his heart he probably scolded James Potter from head to toe. He didn't say anything, obviously not wanting to pay attention to this group of tactless people. He just sat here with these Gryffindors for no reason. Who would have thought that there would be so many people in the box that was only invited by Lily and Sylvia? He also carefully asked where the Gryffindors were, and only sat down after the girls confirmed that they didn't know. Result: forget it, just wait, the day will come when they will cry. Slytherin is always the best at lying dormant. Lily and Remus here also showed the same distorted expressions. This was the most tacit understanding between Gryffindor and Slytherin. The three people watching the show all had the same thought in their hearts: they are truly brother and sister. James has always claimed that he is Sylvia's other brother. Although he is definitely not as good as his biological brother Endrick in all aspects, the Gryffindors who have come into contact with them have to admit that James is sometimes indeed a competent half-brother. They looked forward to seeing that day come, hoping Sirius would come back alive. He was the only one on his side, and on the opposite side were James, Endrick, and the best witch Lily. Remus wasn't sure who he would help. Watching the show was the best option at a time like this, but he thought he would help James and the others. Who doesn't like to have fun, especially the fun of good brothers? But he still has to say, "Damn Sirius Black, you're only in first grade and you're already thinking about him." Just because Sylvia didn't know about Sirius' little tricks didn't mean they didn't know about them. They saw clearly that Sirius' hand was originally intended to reach out and touch her hair. Who knows what she was thinking when she handed the pie over? They could laugh at Sirius's embarrassed look for the rest of their lives, but it was a pity that they didn't take a picture of it. Sirius was indeed secretly regretting that if he hadn't hesitated for a moment because he was worried that his hands might be a little dirty, he wouldn't be holding 4 pies now and he wouldn't have to hand them to Remus Lupin, the guy who laughed at him. As for Endrick and James? Who cares? What he meant was to bully the two of them a little more before they could react, because he might end up being the one in the wrong in the future. Chapter 39. The Hogwarts Express took all the young wizards to platform 9 3/4 before it got dark. The steam from the train before it entered the station blocked the windows tightly, and many young wizards in the lower grades who leaned against the windows to look for their parents showed disappointed eyes. They all wanted to be the first to see their parents. The same goes for Sylvia. She now wants to run into her mother's arms regardless of everything. She has many interesting things that she has not told her mother, and writing letters can never fully express her emotions. My mother and I are really easy to recognize because of our hair colors. I've already seen my mother. After the steam disappeared, Sylvia immediately saw Anna standing in the crowd. She said to Andric with some pride, "See, I'm the first one to find my parents." Andric pouted and muttered in dissatisfaction, "Oh, black hair and green eyes, so ordinary. I can't even see her standing in the crowd." "Come on, Andric. My black hair is pretty good." James heard his brother's words and decided to do justice for black hair. He rubbed his hair hard while speaking, and his already messy hair became even more messy. "And Evan's green eyes are very beautiful." He also defended Lily's eyes, by the way. As expected, James was hit hard by Andric. He fell to the ground, covered his shoulder and began to wail, "My arm is going to break, Andric, you are responsible, and you have to give me your share of chocolate pudding." Unfortunately, actor James Potter's performance was ruthlessly ignored by everyone, who excitedly began planning what to do during the holiday. "My mom makes the best chocolate pudding, and Aunt Euphemia's apple pie is better than the ones the Hogwarts house elves make. My dad is great at wizard chess. Oh, and we could play Quidditch together." Andric and Sylvia were happily talking about this with their friends. James, who was lying on the ground, did not feel embarrassed about being ignored. He immediately joined the conversation about Quidditch. Even Remus and Severus, who were not very interested in Quidditch, became interested, but he felt a little sad when he thought that he would not be spending the holiday with them. "I'll bring you some desserts made by my mother." Sylvia noticed that Remus was a little depressed and guessed the reason. Severus was always able to hide himself well, but Sylvia didn't forget him. The moment the train door opened, several little wizards took advantage of the geographical advantage and quickly jumped off the train and ran towards Anna and Lawrence. "Mom! Dad!" Mr. and Mrs. Hopes hugged Sylvia and Andric, who ran over. They looked down at the two furry little heads and felt a warm feeling in their hearts. Lawrence smiled and said, "You miss Mom and Dad so much? You don't write many letters to me." The two people's faces turned red as they looked up, and their evasive eyes told Lawrence the answer. Anna found it a little funny to see them like this, but she held back after seeing the group of children following behind them. Your friends are still behind you. How long are you going to delay? Anna patted Andrik on the head and then ruthlessly pushed Andrik into her arms. James, serious. She waved to the two familiar boys, took the boxes from them and handed them to Lawrence beside her. The hard-working Lawrence just nodded to the two of them and continued chatting with Sylvia. His lively and lovely daughter was talking about her school life, so he had no time to pay attention to these little boys. Anna, knowing her husband well, had to start business again. She looked at the little red-haired witch who was following her and knew at a glance that this was Lily, her daughter's good friend who was mentioned in the few letters she had received. Lily, right. She took Lily's box in her hands. Sylvia mentioned you many times in her letters. Yes, Mrs. Hobbs, I'm Lily Evans. Evans? Is Penny your sister? Anna vaguely remembered the little girl that Sylvia kidnapped on the first day of school. Her last name seemed to be Evans, but she didn't see Lily at that time. Maybe Sylvia met her later. Yes, Penny is my sister. Lily was a little surprised. Sylvia should have written a letter saying that she was going to the Hobbs house for Christmas, and Penny would also be there for a few days. Why did Mrs. Hobbs seem to not know about this? She was a little nervous, and suddenly worried that her rash presence would bring trouble to the Hobbs. Shia only mentioned your names in the letter. I only knew that Lily and Penny came back to play. I didn't know you were sisters. Thinking of her daughter's out-of-tune appearance, Anna couldn't help but hold her forehead. She was really embarrassed in front of her daughter's friends. Lily didn't expect things to turn out like this. She wasn't nervous or scared now, she just felt helpless towards Sylvia. Hey, Lily, you met my mom. Sylvia finally finished her conversation with Lawrence. She suddenly remembered that she seemed to have forgotten to introduce Lily. When she was about to make up for her mistake, she found that Lily and her mother were already standing together. She breathed a sigh of relief. Anna knew Sylvia very well. She knew that this was a sign of her guilty conscience. She couldn't help but pinch her nose and said, "Why didn't you tell me that Lily and Penny were sisters? The rooms I arranged for them could have been next to each other." What? Didn't I tell you such an important thing? Mom, you must have forgotten it. Sylvia refused to admit it. She searched through her memory and was horrified to find that it was indeed her fault, but she tried to struggle. I won't forget the contents of any of your letters. Anna shook her head. She indeed saw some guilt in Sylvia's eyes. Anna would never take the blame for Sylvia, but after a little trick, her stupid daughter really fell into the trap. Mom. Sylvia stretched out her voice. She pulled Anna's sleeve and shook it. Mom. Sylvia, be more normal. I'm a little uncomfortable with this. Andrik saw Sylvia's coquettish look and tried to stop her. There are so many people here. At least you should go home first. Okay, we have to go back. Lawrence found that these little wizards were not quiet children. If he didn't urge them, they would not remember to go back. Merlin, he could already imagine how lively the next few days would be. Originally they wanted to say hello to Remus and Severus before leaving, but when they looked up they found there were only a few wizards around. The children then realized how much time they had wasted and hurriedly prepared to go back. Chapter 40. The dinner and dessert made by Mrs. Hobbs were very popular with the children. After sitting on the train for a whole day, they were already starving. They rushed to help Anna carry the plates so that dinner could start earlier. If they were not afraid that their levitation spell would accidentally knock over the plates, they would have waved their wands long ago. After eating and drinking, several people stretched out like a pancake on the sofa, as if their bodies had merged into the soft sofa. They raised their heads to look at the ceiling, their eyes revealing a deep sense of satisfaction. Anna originally wanted to wash the dishes after dinner to digest the food, but she stopped their request. Lily, who was not familiar with the Hobbs family, looked puzzled. Sylvia explained to her that maybe Dad and Mom lost the bet again and the bet was housework activities or something like that. Anyway, as long as they didn't make any mistakes, these things would not be their turn during the holidays. Let's play wizard chess. The collapsed Sylvia didn't want to go out anymore, but it was boring to keep doing this. She remembered that her father played chess with her before she went to Hogwarts. The energetic boys didn't want to stay at home all the time even if they were exhausted. They wanted to go outside and ride their brooms around for a while. Sylvia thought they were crazy and would go out to ride brooms in December unless they wanted to turn into ice sculptures. Dad can cast a warming spell on us. Andrik bravely refuted Sylvia's point of view. He was sure that his father would support him. Yes, that's right. Lawrence will definitely help us. James believed it firmly, and their firm attitudes made Sirius full of confidence. They held their heads high and went to Lawrence for help. As Sylvia expected, after being mocked by Lawrence, several people were ready to leave in disgrace, but unexpectedly a voice sounded behind them, "Didn't I say I won't help you? But you have to wait until I finish washing all the dishes." Lawrence did not miss the surprised expressions of the little boys. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes and he continued, "You know, tonight's dinner is so sumptuous. I will have to wait a while to finish it. We'll help you." They spoke eagerly, as if Lawrence would regret it if they spoke a second later. Seeing that his goal was achieved, Lawrence showed a smile that concealed his achievement and fame. What a bunch of gullible boys. He was even considerate enough to stand aside, leaving space for the three children. No matter how you look at it, this is a deal that both parties are very satisfied with. Lawrence reduced the workload of housework and Andric and his friends got the pleasure of going out to play, provided they didn't catch a cold the next day. Anna put her hands on her hips and looked at the three people who were sneezing in front of her. In her hands, she held 3 bottles of refreshing potion, which was a potion that could cure the common cold. Children from wizarding families knew this very well, except... Ha 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 ha, what is this? Lily stared in amazement at the 3 people in front of her whose ears were constantly emitting steam. She was almost dying of laughter at this scene. If there is only one person, this effect cannot be achieved. It is a different story when there are 3 people together. James' desire to perform reached its peak at this moment. He had never found this so interesting before, but Lily's reaction made him feel extremely satisfied. He first got off the sofa and ran around twice, then continued to expand the range until the whole living room was filled with his steam. Andric and Sirius couldn't help themselves when they saw this. They ran around the living room like crazy, as if they were having a lot of fun. Brothers. Sylvia looked at the scene and came up with a brilliant idea, "Let's go to the garden to compete. You really look like the front of the Hogwarts Express." Andric immediately caught up with Sylvia's thoughts and said that he must be the fastest one. Provoking boys always works well. James and Sirius were not willing to be outdone, so a competition for the fastest locomotive began. Sylvia took Lily to the garden, and they watched these people making a fuss quietly. At first it was just a simple race, but then someone suggested imitating a sound, and the whole garden was filled with the sounds of their whistles. So how did things develop to this point? Sylvia looked at James hanging on the tree in horror. She hurriedly picked up the broom that he had dropped on the ground and prepared to go up and pull him down. Andric and Sirius, who had been in the air, were many steps faster than her. They arrived beside James before Sylvia could react. Unfortunately, they were not here to save James. "Help me down quickly." James was hanging on the tree. Even in such a dangerous environment, he could not stop his active nature. He twisted and turned on the tree restlessly, trying to use his own strength to get out of the predicament. "Seriously, we are brothers, right?" "Oh, you can't do that. A real brother would make us laugh for a while." The great Quidditch player, James Potter, in this broomstick engine match. "We got a great result of 3rd place." The gloating voices of Andric and Sirius deeply hurt James' sensitive heart. "What? Please don't be so disgusting, brother." Andric retorted to James righteously. He couldn't see that James was a sensitive baby. "Did I say that?" James was shocked, but he was thick-skinned enough not to be embarrassed. "My steam is going to cook the tree. If you have any common sense, you'll know that's impossible." In the end, it was Lily and Sylvia who rescued the princess trapped in the tower. As for his original knights, they had already slipped away to avoid his revenge. However, the 2 of them forgot that their ears would emit steam no matter where they hid, and even under the invisibility cloak, the steam would not be completely covered. Sylvia silently blesses them in her heart. It's really a touching brotherly love. Chapter 41. After running around outside with a steamy head, the cold that could be cured by drinking a bottle of stimulant became more serious. Some of the droopy boys were trying hard to stay conscious. If Anna knew, she would definitely force them to rest early. Today was Christmas, and they still wanted to have fun. "Lily." Andric sniffed and asked his red-haired friend in a nasal voice, "Can you make a stimulant?" "I'm sorry, I'm not sure I can," Lily said embarrassedly. Refreshers were a 3rd-grade subject, and although she and Sev liked to challenge some of the higher-grade potions, it was hard for Lily to guarantee that she could make it without Sev's presence. Sev was the most talented one. Lily couldn't bear to see her good friends in such a depressed state. James, who was always full of energy, was now lying motionless on the sofa. If Severus was here, we could still give it a try, but now. She tentatively said, why don't you go directly to Mrs. Hope's? Goodbye. James said weakly, Aunt Anna will carry us directly to bed. I don't want to miss Christmas dinner tonight. If he hadn't raised his heavy arm on the sofa, Sylvia wouldn't have been able to tell who was talking. It seemed that James also knew their situation and raised his hand in advance. Well, how about we give it a try? Sylvia said uncertainly. It was a huge challenge for her to brew potions across 2 grades. She didn't have special talents like Severus and Lily, so she was a little unsure for a moment. Lily hesitated but nodded in agreement for the sake of her good friend. She was also worried about their health, but she also knew enough about the consequences of a failed potion. In the end, the worry for his good friend outweighed everything. The worst that could happen was going to St. Mungo's. Gryffindor was always optimistic in this regard. There would always be a solution. The Hops family had a large potion room with a rich supply of potions. The quantity was not as much as that of Hogwarts, after all, the consumption of each grade was very large, but the variety was not inferior. Lily looked at the huge potion room in surprise. She had only heard Sylvia and Andric talk about how old Hope's Manor and Priest Manor were and how well stocked they were. She didn't know that the same was true in the small villa where they lived. Thanks to the Hops family's rich collection of books, otherwise they would have been strangled in the cradle before they even took the first step. They probably wouldn't even be able to find the formula with the first-year potion book they brought back. Hey! Lily took a quick look at the formula and found that she originally only had 50% success rate, but now she had 90% success rate. Fortunately, it was a basic potion. All the materials were ready. Lily stirred the ingredients in her hands with a serious look on her face, while Sylvia stood quietly beside her, not daring to make a sound. The whole scene seemed unusually quiet, with only the gurgling sound of the crucible bubbling echoing in the air. The stimulant is now very close to the color it should be, and the only thing left is Merlin! Lily exclaimed as she looked at the overturned cauldron. James Potter! What are you doing? I said I just wanted to come and take a look, would you believe me? James looked at Lily cautiously. He just pushed the door open normally and walked to the cauldron normally. Who would have thought that he would trip over his left foot just because of a sneeze? The 5 people just looked at the potion spilled on the ground in silence, and no one spoke for a while. Let's make another one. Sylvia calculated the time. It didn't take long to boil the stimulant, and with the few hours of steam spraying, it would be just time for dinner. Mom and Dad are at Potter Manor today preparing food for dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Potter. They will not be home today. They have plenty of time as long as nothing unexpected happens. James nodded heavily to show that he could help, but was ruthlessly rejected by Lily. Likewise, Andric and Sirius were rejected. The patient should go and rest. Don't try to make any deadly poison while you are dizzy. Sylvia planned to use a levitation spell to pick up the cauldron fragments. She would not miss any opportunity to practice magic. Lily always felt like she would go to the battlefield in the next second. Sylvia couldn't explain the reason, she thought it might be because she had a different talent for spells. Unfortunately, she let too many fragments float up at once, and there were always 1 or 2 unruly fragments that fell to the ground. After dealing with the majority of them, she was ready to pick up the fragments on the ground. Ah! Sylvia looked at the bleeding finger. If she hadn't seen a little red, she wouldn't have known that she was pricked. Lily was in the critical moment of making the potion and couldn't get away for a while. Sylvia came to her side when she asked about the situation. The wound was not very deep and would heal in a short time. Sylvia didn't care about this small wound and she had stopped the bleeding. The refreshers were ready quickly, and Sylvia helped divide them into 3 bottles. Lily. Sylvia said calmly, it shouldn't be a problem if the wizard's blood gets into the potion, right? Lily, who was doing the final processing, stopped what she was doing and remained silent. Looking at Lily's back, Sylvia gradually stiffened. She had no hope to begin with, but now she was even more desperate. Can I hear what's going on? Lily's voice was normal, if you didn't look at her clenched fists. It's like this, like that. Sylvia was trying to muddle through, but then she saw Lily's sharp eyes. Okay, my wound suddenly started bleeding again and when I found out, the potion had already been divided into bottles, so I'm not sure if any of it was left in. Sylvia's voice became lower and lower, lower and lower. Lily's whole body was turned around now, and she raised an eyebrow. So, do I need to make another pot? Lily was clearly smiling, but why did she look so dangerous? Sylvia huddled at the door and shivered. She felt that Lily was going to turn evil, and it was her fault. She confessed sincerely, if that helps. Boom. The door to the potions room opened again. It was Andric. He peeked into the potion room. Oh. Is the potion ready? Thank you. I think we'll be ready soon. He reached out and took away the 3 potion bottles from Sylvia's arms, so quickly that Sylvia and Lily didn't have time to stop him. When they ran downstairs, the boys were already steaming. Lily held her forehead and felt dizzy. What was going on? Are you feeling better? Sylvia asked nervously, I mean, are you okay? Are you feeling uncomfortable? The boys, who were nervous about Sylvia and Lily's performance, quietly clenched the bottles in their hands. Well, is there a problem? Being stared at by 3 pairs of nervous eyes, Sylvia took a few steps back unconsciously. She swallowed and said, I'm not sure if my blood got into the potion. Oh, I thought it was a big deal. Sirius was feeling better now. We're not missing any limbs, fingers, or toes. Andric and James checked their body parts in accordance with his words. Everything was safe. Why aren't you steaming? Lily pointed this out sharply, it's not even a few hours now, it's only a few minutes. She almost screamed, we need to find the adults as soon as possible. But I really feel fine, even better than when I didn't have a cold. Maybe it didn't get inside, maybe the potion you made is too good. James ran around the living room twice, feeling refreshed and relaxed. No. Lily's attitude was very firm. She would not allow any risk to exist. The few people who couldn't persuade Lily came to Potter Manor in a dusty state. They searched for a while before they found the adults. After several people chattered and explained one thing after another, Anna and Lawrence finally figured out the cause, process, and outcome of the incident. Don't worry, wizard's blood usually has no magic power, so there won't be any big problems. Anna comforted Lily. She knew how powerful this little witch was and what she was afraid of now. But I still need to check you guys. After that, she raised her wand and cast a few spells to show that everything was fine. Well, since you're all here, why don't you help us together? Lawrence said with a smile, it always makes a difference when you get involved yourself. Sylvia was taken by Anna to treat her wound. Even if it healed quickly, it would be fine to use some distilled white essence. Baby, does it hurt when you bleed? I don't feel anything, Mom. Sylvia felt the itch from her mother's gentle touch on the wound. It doesn't hurt at all, it's just a small wound. The wounds Andre and I got when we fell when we were little were more painful than this. Anna smiled, she stood up and looked at Sylvia, be careful next time, these fragments can easily scratch you. Also, spells can't be mastered in one go. Even the most powerful aurors improve themselves through many practices. I know, Mom. I'll be more careful next time. Let's go get dinner ready, okay? Sylvia grabbed Anna's sleeve and looked up at her. Anna couldn't stand Sylvia's behavior the most. Her heart softened all of a sudden. No one could compare to her most lovely daughter. She took Sylvia's hand and said, let's go. At the same time, Lawrence came to Sirius silently, lowered his head and asked, Sirius, is your cold better? Sirius was caught off guard by the voice beside him and almost dropped the thing in his hand. After seeing the other person clearly, he said, of course, Uncle Lawrence. Lawrence nodded and said, Andric and James are the ones who are running around like crazy every day. They are disobedient brats. Don't run around with them. Your cold will get worse. Sirius didn't dare to refute anything. He symbolically agreed with Lawrence's words. The other party looked at him with satisfaction and left quietly. Sirius was just planning to chat for a while, but he didn't expect the other party to disappear in the blink of an eye. What did Dad say to you? Andric had noticed the situation here a long time ago. Perhaps it was the ancestral skill of the Hops family. Sirius was frightened again. He was silent for a while. I say, are you walking without making any sound? Do you use floating? No? You are too careless. As a qualified auror, you must always be vigilant. Andric raised his index finger and shook it at Sirius. Sirius would not tolerate him and kicked Andric hard. The latter covered his calf in pain and said, Hey! Sorry, I don't know how my leg touched you. Does it hurt? I thought auras were very strong. Andric looked at Sirius in shock. He really wanted to grab Sirius' shoulders and shake him hard. Is this still his good brother? Sirius' innocent look completely left Andric speechless. Ha! Seeing Andric laughing out of anger, Sirius was satisfied. He shrugged and said, nothing. Uncle Lawrence said I'm much more obedient than you. Hey! Andric couldn't believe it. He, Sirius Black, an obedient, well-behaved, lovely little boy? Maybe I should ask Mom to check Dad carefully. Andric activated the skill of the Hops family again and left in a daze. James and Lily heard about this from Andric, and both of them looked strange. Seriously? Sirius Black? Sirius saw 3 distorted faces. He said unhappily, I think Sylvia is right. This stereotype is wrong. Am I not obedient? 3 heads shook in unison. Looking at their tacit movements, Sirius fell silent again. There are many of you, and you are right. After repeating it several times in his mind, he said calmly, okay. What are you doing? How can I help? Sylvia, who arrived a step late, looked at the unusually silent friends and felt a little strange. Why are you so quiet? Something is wrong. Sirius, are you thinking of some evil ideas? Add me in. Andric and the others burst into laughter. Sirius felt his temples throbbing. How should he refute? In English, you and you guys are not differentiated, but please don't assume it's me so tacitly. Sylvia hesitated for a moment, so can anyone tell me what this is about? Let the obedient Sirius tell you. Andric looked at Sirius with ill intention. Sirius, who had been so confident, suddenly felt embarrassed for some reason. After seeing Sylvia's curious eyes, he gave up and repeated what he had said to Andric. Like I said, the stereotype is wrong. Sylvia's serious expression gave Sirius a little confidence, but it's okay to come once in a while. She also laughed after she finished speaking, and the curved look on her face made Sirius sigh involuntarily. Okay, whatever you say is what it is. After that, the 5 of them burst into laughter again. The adults on the other side also smiled after hearing the children's laughter. It feels a lot easier to be with young people. No wonder Dumbledore always said that he was happy to be with young wizards. Chapter 42. They had a very happy Christmas and ended the day's celebration with a final toast. Lily lay in the room Anna had prepared for her. The soft and comfortable bed couldn't make her fall asleep immediately because Penny was coming tomorrow. They hadn't seen each other for 3 months. She lay in bed, her thoughts unable to stop for a moment. What's the first thing you should say when you see Penny? What should you tell her? There are many interesting things in Hogwarts, but will Penny want to know? While Lily was daydreaming, she heard a knock on the door. Sylvia. The girl in front of her was standing in front of Lily's door in her pajamas. She asked, "What's wrong?" "I can't sleep." Sylvia answered honestly. "Okay, me too." "Shia, are you here?" The bulge on the bed moved, then quickly quieted down. "I'm coming in." When Anna opened the door, she saw 2 girls sleeping together. Although she didn't want to disturb them. "Penny will be here soon." As if something had been triggered, the person on the bed opened his eyes immediately. Lily sat up and rubbed her eyes, while Sylvia lay on the bed and copied Lily's movements. "Mom, what time is it now?" Sylvia's voice was still a little hoarse and she was still a little confused. "Honey, it's almost 10 o'clock. Anna straightened Lily's messy hair and pulled Sylvia up. "Go wash up quickly." "Penny." Thanks to the temporary connection between the Hope's fireplace and the Evans fireplace, Sylvia smiled secretly when she saw Penny coming out of the fireplace. "What are you laughing at?" Penny saw Sylvia's little action. She had just crawled out of the fireplace in an embarrassing manner. Oh my god, she really hated the wizard's way of transportation. Penny looked at the handkerchief that suddenly appeared in front of her, and then she saw the familiar face. "Wipe it off with this, your face is covered in dust." Lily smiled at her. "I missed you so much, Petunia." "Me too." Petunia hugged Lily. "I really missed you." The 2 sisters who met again after a long separation had tears in their eyes. They had experienced a cold war and reconciliation when they were separated, and now they finally met. Before Penny took the handkerchief, she felt the gentle touch on her face. Lily was already helping her wipe away the dust from the fireplace. "Thank you, Lily." "We don't need to say thank you." Sylvia also watched this scene with tears in her eyes. The little person in her heart bit her handkerchief tightly and whimpered continuously. What are you doing? This was the scene Andrik saw when he ran downstairs. He froze on the last step of the stairs. Two girls were hugging each other, and another girl was standing beside them, wiping her tears silently. It's weird, take another look. 3 people? That's right, 3 people. Penny Evans. Andrik knew the name of the third girl with his amazing memory and observation skills. Did we meet on the first day of school? Of course, I've introduced you to James. Sylvia took Andrik's hand and came to the two sisters. By the way, where are James and Sirius? Still sleeping? I'm not sure. After waking up, Andrik went downstairs directly. He didn't know where the 2 people were. Penny's arrival occupied all the attention of Lily and Sylvia. After asking a few words symbolically, the 3 of them went to the garden hand in hand. Penny liked flowers, and she wanted to see the difference between wizards' flowers and muggles. It doesn't look any different. Penny leaned over to smell a flower in the garden. She looked left and right but couldn't find anything different. Just as Sylvia was about to say that there was no difference between wizards and muggles, she heard Petunia scream, "What is this, Jasmine? How did you do that? It's not the jasmine season now." Penny's voice was so surprised that Sylvia didn't react for a moment. She said after a while, "Oh, this may be the biggest difference. Wizards always use some spells to keep the flowers open. Okay, I admit that wizards are really good at this." Penny praised sincerely, "What else is different?" She crossed her arms and looked like she was asking me to see if there was anything worth admiring. It was really funny. If it weren't for her expectant look, Sylvia really couldn't see her curiosity about the magical world. She was really good at hiding it. "Petunia, do you want to ride on a broom?" It was a bold proposition. It was impossible for a muggle to make a broom fly, even if that broom was a Nimbus 1100. What? Riding on what? Penny was a little shocked. She thought witches riding brooms were only in fairy tales. She couldn't accept what Sylvia said at first, even though there were 2 wizards standing next to her. Broom? Me? No matter how shocked Petunia was, she was horrified to find that Sia was not joking, and even Lily, her sister, began to think about the feasibility of this matter. "My flying lessons are pretty good. There will be no problem if I fly lower," Sylvia vowed. Lily was also full of confidence. "What does it matter if it's a little higher? As long as Penny wants, we can fly as high as we want." The 2 witches who had always said that boys were reckless were no longer as nice as before. Penny shuddered as they stared at her with expectant eyes. But it was impossible for her to say no. No one wanted to miss such a tempting request. "Can I really do this?" Penny nervously gripped the front end of the broom, her arms trembling slightly from being overly tense. Her few senses of security came from the solid ground beneath her feet. Sylvia sat behind her and hugged her. "Don't worry, I'm here." Penny could feel the wind surge around her as Thea finished speaking, a sign of impending takeoff. Feeling her toes slowly leaving the ground, Penny exclaimed in a low voice, "Oh my God, I can't believe it, I'm flying on a broom." Soon her inner uneasiness was replaced by the excitement of flying. This unprecedented feeling made her forget everything. Behind her was Sylvia's cheers, and they enjoyed the fun of flying. Lily was flying beside them, and when she caught Petunia's eye, she let go of one hand on the broom and greeted her. "Lily, you can't do this!" she screamed, "it's too dangerous." After saying this, Penny felt a little regretful. She forgot that Lily was a wizard. This would be a very easy thing for her, but what if? "Don't worry, Penny." Lily looked at Penny with a smile, "I will be very careful." Lily blinked at Penny. Seeing her so relaxed, Penny felt relieved and concentrated on experiencing this rare moment. They started from the Hope's Garden, circled the 5-story villa several times, and then flew towards the hillside. Of course, at Penny's request they didn't fly very high. "This hillside is where Aunt Jam and I often come to play." Sylvia pointed downwards, and when she was about to continue speaking, she felt her arm being grabbed by a strong force. It was Penny. "Oh, sorry, I'll hold the broom firmly." Sylvia was so excited that she forgot that Penny was still a little scared, and she quickly held the broom firmly with both hands. After feeling Penny's tense body relax, Sylvia felt relieved. In order to ease the tension in Penny's heart, Sylvia racked her brains to think of a topic that could divert attention. "Oh, by the way, how could I forget? Penny, how was your ballet competition? Oh. I totally forgot. I wanted to tell you as soon as I saw you. Penny immediately became excited when she heard it. I won first place, the best one. Wow. Slow down. Slow down, ah. I'm so excited, Penny. That's not a reason for you to spin in circles. Or upside down. Ha 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 ha, sorry. You're so awesome, can you teach me? I don't hear any apology in your voice. Penny said in shock, but of course you can. I haven't taught anyone else yet, so don't think I'm bad. What? Have you forgotten me? Lily was flying not far from them. Her heart almost jumped out of her chest when she saw Sylvia's bold flip, and she quickly flew to them. It's Penny. She won first place in ballet. Sylvia said it out loud for Penny, and Penny could hear her sincere praise and pride. Penny, who was originally trying to show off, couldn't help but blush. You should have told us earlier. This is worth showing off. Lily also shouted excitedly, but she didn't dare to flip like Sylvia. She just flew around them a few times. Just from her flying speed, it can be seen that she is very happy. Oh, please. Penny's blush had spread from her face to her ears and neck. I'm just here to show off. Lily and Sylvia looked at each other and laughed out loud. Yes, you are here to show off. We should go back. Sylvia came back to her senses from her excitement. She pointed out rationally, if we fly any longer, we'll catch a cold. Yes. Lily also calmed down. They were possessed by the group of boys from yesterday. They hoped they would not catch a cold, otherwise they would laugh at them. I hope I don't catch a cold, or Endrick and the others will laugh at me. Sylvia's train of thought overlapped with Lily's in a strange way. Penny didn't understand what this meant. After listening to the explanations of both of them, she opened her mouth mechanically and said, Ah. Please forgive her for not having much contact with these boys and not understanding their temperaments, otherwise she would not have reacted like this. Where have you been? As soon as she landed, Sylvia saw Sirius standing at the door. He was leaning against the window as if he came out to get some fresh air and see the scenery, and he even had a glass of soda in his hand. Soda. Sylvia's pupils trembled. Where did you get it from? Anna and Lawrence had never let them drink these, but that was not an objection. After all, wizards had never understood the Muggle world. But Sylvia doesn't believe that her parents have never tried this. They are always at the forefront of wizards. This. Sirius raised the cup in his hand, and after seeing Sylvia's hooked eyes, he deliberately took a sip and sighed with satisfaction. As expected, Sylvia was attracted. Where did it come from? I haven't had any since I last went out with Rael. Tell me now. She ran over to Sirius and it only took her a second to make him stop teasing her. Oh, James, and I ran out to buy them. It's so strange. I clearly wanted to arouse her curiosity, so why did I break my promise so immediately? Thank you, Sirius. Sylvia did not hide her joy. Her originally bright sky blue pupils were now full of brilliance. Sirius liked looking into her eyes. It made him feel peaceful, if she hadn't said the following words. And James, you guys have worked hard. After saying this, the little witch ran into the living room. She couldn't wait to drink the soda. This is. Penny looked at the two people, frozen in place and unable to move. What's going on? Her scream attracted Sirius' attention. Hi. Sirius was a cold person, at least he thought so. According to his original character, not really original, he would not pay too much attention to others, or that sentence, unless he paid attention to them. Now he took the initiative to talk to Petunia or say hello more because she knew Sylvia, and a small part because she knew Lily. Another reason was that since she came to the Hops family, it meant that everyone in the Hops family welcomed her. He liked the Hops family and would not treat the people they welcomed with indifference. Humph. Penny didn't care about that. She didn't care about Sirius's inner thoughts. All she cared about now was, you are seducing Sylvia. Sirius froze for a moment when Penny pointed this out sharply. He said with a perfunctory voice, it's just soda. Oh, it's just soda. Penny's tone became strange. The long sound she dragged out gave Sirius a bad feeling. Sure enough, she said, it would be best if you can still say it's just soda in a few years. After saying that, she stormed into the living room, completely forgetting that she had been mesmerized by the other person's handsome face when she was on the platform. Petunia, my sister. Lily was standing next to Petunia and she saw the whole process. Merlin! She almost screamed, why did she always accompany him during such times? She might be a little. Lily racked her brains to find a word to explain, but she failed. Sirius was the same. He also wanted to justify his behavior, but unfortunately found that there was nothing to justify. At least he didn't want to say it was just soda in the future. It's just a little. Lily was still trying. I understand. These words rang in Lily's ears like the sound of nature. Yes, you understand. The two people strangely reached some kind of consensus at this moment and walked into the living room in silence. Another key figure in the incident is now sitting on the carpet enjoying a soda. Chapter 43. You look so comfortable. Andric came from the kitchen and sat down next to Sylvia. Here, cookies. Anna and Lawrence went out after Penny arrived. They seemed to have an appointment with someone today. They asked the kitchen to call Limo, the house elf of Hope's Manor, if there was not enough food. James and Sirius got up very early and happened to hear the conversation between Mr. and Mrs. Hope's. They decided to sneak out to buy some Muggle food, which is why they saw soda in the living room. So, you only bought soda? Lily was a little incredulous. She gradually raised her voice, soda can't keep us full. It was an accident. James ruffled his head again, we only had enough money to buy soda. That's not why you bought a box. Lily always pointed out the core of the problem so sharply. It's me, it's me. Sirius came to the rescue of his brother at the critical moment, I like to drink. James gave him a grateful and relieved look, as if he was going to give him a loving hug in the next second. Sirius, who was disgusted by James, said frantically in his heart, I regret it, really, please don't look at me like that. Where did you get your Muggle currency? Don't tell me you exchanged it at Gringotts. They obviously didn't want to give the boys an easy time, and kept asking questions step by step. It's Lear. Sirius stood up again for justice. His dear brother was going to take the blame for him. He couldn't stop thinking about the burger after eating it last time. We found a chance to change it and plan to eat it again when we have time. This sentence was true and false, false and true. Sirius was almost fooled by himself, and he thought that others were also fooled. He had read in a book that this method was the best and most effective. Poor Regulus. Everyone who knew him felt sorry for him. Not only did he have to be dragged out by his brother as a scapegoat, but he also didn't get any benefits at all. Anna and Hopes came back in the afternoon. They were no different from when they left. It seemed like it was no big deal, maybe just a gathering of old friends. Sylvia could feel that since the beginning of the school year, many people had tried to build good relationships with her and Andric. Although she had heard the elves talk about the family history in both manors before, she really didn't have any real feelings. She just didn't know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Happy times are always short. Penny only played at the Hops house for 2 days. Even though she was reluctant to leave, school was about to start and Lily hadn't gone home to stay with her parents for a few days. These 2 days were like opening the door to a new world for Penny. She not only experienced the flying broom but also witnessed various kinds of magic. The 2 adult wizards are very skilled in using magic and they can use different magic in various situations, but her little friend is different. Lily is the best witch of this class. Penny thought, she had known it would be like this. However, what low-level wizards learn are always very simple, and no matter how good they are, they cannot use high-level magic all at once. But it was enough to amaze Penny. Sylvia also took her to see how the potion was brewed, but there were no green bubbles or evil witch stirring the potion as in the legend. There was just Sia, and she was so pretty. Petunia apologized again for being so distracted by Thea. She had come to see how the potion was made. Oh, this. Sylvia pulled out a book that looked very old from the bookshelf. It was covered with a lot of dust. When she took it down, the fine dust that fell off made the 2 of them sneeze several times in succession. After wiping off the dust, Penny saw the original appearance of the book. Its name was written on the brown cover, Priest's Potions Primer. What is this? Penny was a little surprised. Most of her knowledge of the wizarding world came from the little witch in front of her. Please, Lily only has a limited understanding now. She only knows a little more about Hogwarts than Penny. They really don't know which families there are in the ancient wizarding world. This is my mother's family. Sylvia continued to wipe the dirty book while Penny watched from the side because it was so dirty. The records above should be some magic potion formulas from hundreds of years ago in the wizarding world. The priest family has some achievements in magic potions, but they are far inferior to the prince family. Sylvia remembered that Severus' mother was from that family, but she disappeared a long time ago. The other party seemed to have never mentioned this matter in front of Severus, and perhaps he didn't even know it existed. Penny could sense from Sylvia's words that this was a very important book. She immediately retracted her words about it being dirty. She still had to be in awe of things that were ancient and worth collecting. So you want to? Penny stopped talking and asked Sylvia if she wanted to read the book. It was a silly question. Isn't the purpose of taking down a book to read? Another possibility was that she was lending it to someone else, but this was a very private matter, so she couldn't continue asking. I want to lend it to Severus. Sylvia continued with her words. Who? Severus. Petunia's eyebrows raised high, she obviously couldn't believe what she heard. Is it the one I know, Severus Snape? There shouldn't be anyone else. Sylvia answered, and then she realized what this man meant to Penny. Oh, sorry Penny, but I promised him. Her slightly apologetic tone made Penny feel a little at a loss. She didn't mean anything special, she was just a little surprised. She didn't expect that her best friend and dearest sister had such a good relationship with that person. It's your freedom. I'm just a little surprised. Penny said honestly, I don't like him, but after so long I figured it out. Facing Sylvia's curious gaze, Penny continued, no matter how much I dislike him, he is still your and Lily's friend. And I won't give up our friendship because of him. You are more important to me. The two stayed in the potions room for a while. Lawrence said that the deadline for connecting the fireplace was about to arrive, and Lily and Penny had to go back. See you at the beginning of school. Sylvia hugged Lily. She was really happy to be with Lily these days. This is what Lily is like. As for Penny, whom she would not be able to see at the beginning of the school year, Sylvia promised that she would write more letters to her and also agreed to visit her family for a few days during the summer vacation. After getting the assurance, Penny nodded in satisfaction. Soon, the Evans sisters disappeared into the fireplace. The boys were also reluctant to let Lily leave, for no other reason than that Lily was the first one to finish her homework. She scoffed at this. Forget about it. You've almost finished your homework. You don't understand us at all. If you spend more time on this, it won't be like this. Sylvia was reading a book nearby. Their home's library had a long table just like the one in Hogwarts. James was lying on the table in pain, and it was covered with their homework. It would be great if you would let us see it. Andric put his hands on the table and came in front of Sylvia, trying to get her attention by disturbing her reading. Can it be done? Can it be done? As long as you don't bother me anymore. Sylvia angrily threw the homework on the table. As long as you don't get AP, you can take it. The boys didn't take Sylvia's harsh words seriously at all and happily divided the homework. You write the potion first. No problem, then you do your transfiguration homework. My transfiguration class is pretty good, I can do it last. Let me see where the homework for herbology is. Help me find it. Oh, don't worry, we won't get AP. Sylvia was frightened by the robbery in front of her. Be careful, don't tear it up. She was really nervous about her homework, which she spent a whole day writing from morning till night. She didn't dare to think that it would be torn up. James held the homework to his chest in a funny way. We will be very careful and take good care of it. You better be. Sylvia couldn't sit still and read at all, but Lily had gone home and James and the others were doing their homework, so there was no one else to play with her. It was so boring. Oh, she almost forgot she hadn't written to Remus, Regulus, and Severus yet. You can also bring the cookies that Mom baked. Sylvia ran back to her room to get the letter paper, and placed the blank one in the second drawer on the left side of her desk, while the letter she received was in the first drawer. After getting all her things, Sylvia stopped at the door. She first looked at her small table and then looked in the direction of the library. She was wondering where to go to write the letter. Maybe it would be better for me to go to the library to write. Andric and the others would definitely not want to miss this opportunity. They can write letters together, Sylvia thought. I've finished writing. Do you want to write something too? Sylvia pushed the extra letter paper in front of the boys, but unfortunately no one took it. What? Andric looked up in shock. Is there any other homework I don't know about? James was equally shocked when he heard this. Merlin, there's more? These are enough for me to write about. He looked at his hand in despair. His right hand, which used to hold the broom without getting tired no matter how long it held it, was actually trembling slightly now. But let me copy it. Oh no, let me learn from it. Sirius just stared ahead in silence, and it was obvious that he didn't want to have another assignment. If you had eyes, you would know it's just a piece of letter paper. Oh, stationery. Yes, it's just stationery. Andric's voice became noticeably more lively. Where did you get the stationery? I don't remember having this in the library. He looked everywhere but couldn't find the place where these things were placed. It was no different from before. Of course it's not here. I went downstairs to get it. Sylvia had never found chatting with this group of people so tiring. If she had any brains at all, she wouldn't say such stupid things. Don't even think about copying my homework anymore. I won't give it to you. She was determined and firm in her belief that they couldn't be allowed to continue to degenerate, as this would be detrimental to the growth of their new brains. The three people who suddenly lost an operation supplier fell into their chairs as if they had lost their souls. Oh no. Sylvia ignored their wailing and said, write quickly if you need to. Hess is still waiting. This cute little owl appeared outside the window as if by telepathy. She landed on the windowsill and knocked on the glass. Let me see who it's for first. Snape. James looked at the letter on top with disdain. Seriously? Yes, I'm here. Sirius raised his hand. He had been working furiously on his homework. I didn't write him a letter, and I don't want to. He added, and James agreed, yes, what can we write about? About the happy holidays we had with Lily? He'll go crazy. Don't look at me like that, am I wrong? I just didn't expect. Sirius put down the quill in his hand and looked at James seriously, can you see it? What? What did you see? James sometimes thought his friends were really annoying and always spoke half sentences. Isn't it? He is only one person and we have many people. Oh. Sirius and Thea groaned. Again, they deserved to be asked this one more time. Okay, I'm sorry, I really don't know what you are talking about. James suppressed his curiosity for the time being and read the second letter. It's for Remus. But why did you include the fact that we caught a cold? Remus will laugh at us for the whole semester. No, he'll laugh until graduation, Andric said rationally. He could already imagine the scene. Be optimistic, if we... No, you don't want to. Sirius broke out in a cold sweat as Sylvia stared at him. He cleared his throat and said, of course, we won't. The oppressive gaze finally left him, and Sirius breathed a sigh of relief. This one's for Rael. Let me think of something I can tell him. Okay, you guys keep writing. Sylvia was about to leave. I'm going to go bake cookies with my mom. I love it, give me more. If you want to eat, go and eat it yourself. This is what I asked Hess to bring to them. After being ruthlessly refuted by Sylvia, Andric sighed, we are so pitiful that we don't even have cookies. Aunt Anna's little cookies are my favorite. I don't want to miss out. Rael is my brother, it should be okay for me to eat a little, right? As soon as Sirius said this he got the attention of the other two. Why are you looking at me like that? Regulus is your brother. You are our good brother, so of course he is our brother too. So. Why not? Poor Regulus had no idea that he had been deprived of his share of cookies by three bastards, and his three good brothers treated this as a great adventure. No, that's not fair to Lear. Sirius had a rare moment of conscience, we can give Snape some of his share. Poor Snape. Can we help Remus eat his portion too? We are as close as brothers. Poor Remus. Chapter 44. The evil plan of the three people was discovered in time by the warrior Sylvia, who violently stopped the smuggling cookies case and vowed not to make cookies for these people for a long time in the future. With her mother's guidance, she can now bake perfect cookies independently. Apart from being a little more flustered, their creations are not much different from what Anna makes. Oh, don't be like this, Sylvia. Andric almost hugged Sylvia's thighs and cried. He didn't want to lose the delicious cookies. He couldn't eat his mother's cookies in Hogwarts, and now he lost Sylvia's cookies. He felt that his life was bleak. Absolutely impossible. The cold-blooded Sylvia broke Andric's last fantasy. He seemed to see Cookie grow wings and fly away. This must be a dream, a terrible nightmare. So, that's why I got double the cookies. Remus fully supported this. He almost missed out on such a delicious treat, which would be a lifelong regret for him. Remus. James looked at dear Mr. Lupin for help, trying to awaken his sympathy. Really? Just one piece. James acted pitiful enough, and it was true, but their good man Remus coldly rejected this request. That's terrible. They sat down in frustration. Excuse me, is there any extra space here? A warm and clear voice interrupted the noise in the box. It belonged to a boy with blonde hair. The one who came here with him was Lily. She looked at the person in front of her with some confusion. Who are you? She searched for a long time but couldn't find any memory about this person. She looked to Sylvia for help, but she also shook her head in confusion. Just as Sylvia was about to politely refuse, the blonde boy's hand holding the door handle shrank back. Sorry. The boy ran away in a hurry, without giving anyone a chance to speak, leaving Lily standing there awkwardly. She opened her mouth several times but said nothing. The people in the box also didn't understand the situation. Everything happened too suddenly. How strange. Lily surrendered as she carried her luggage into the box. Did I scare him? It has nothing to do with you, Lily. Sylvia said to comfort her friend. I don't know which college he is from. I don't think I've ever seen him before. James knew a lot of people in the academy, or rather, everyone liked his personality and he was very popular, but he also had a confused expression. Andric didn't think too much about it. There were only so many students in Hogwarts anyway, and they would definitely meet again. Sirius, on the other hand, did not speak. He pondered for a long time and finally found a little impression. Greengrass. Who? Christian Greengrass. This last name seemed to turn on a switch, and Sirius remembered a lot of things. Andy had an arranged marriage with Not before he got together with Tonks. Before they got together, Not got together with a Greengrass. This was a slap in Cygnus's face. But then Traverse came up to me. He frowned when he mentioned this, his eyes full of disgust. Fortunately Andy and Tonks eloped. I really don't dare to think what Cygnus thinks, and Traverse. Wait, Traverse. James had some impression of this. Both the Potters and the Hopes were pure-blood families, but neither family was very involved in these things. Flement and Euphemia would sometimes mention a few words about pure-blood families, but Lawrence and Anna never said anything at all. I have some impression, but what happened to them? Several people who didn't know much about the affairs between pure-blood families showed curious looks. Sirius found a comfortable position and said, let me think about where to start. He recounted the entire conversation he had with Regulus. After hearing this, the people all showed distorted expressions at the same time. Are you serious? You drank potions recklessly? And you became stupid. Sirius knew a lot about pure-blood families, thanks to Walburga's long-term education of them. But he didn't remember it as carefully as Regulus. He could only remember the relationship between each family, which one had marriage with which one, etc. He couldn't remember the names and faces clearly. Those who can remember faces are either on good terms with him, but this is rarely the case, or they will only pay a second glance at the other person if he does something unbelievable, like Traverse. That's pretty impressive too. Sylvia admired sincerely. She had never been able to figure this out. The relationships between pure-blood families were very complicated. I only know which families there are. It's useless to remember this. Sirius said nonchalantly. If Walburga hadn't forced him, he wouldn't have wanted to waste time on this. But when did he become like this? He didn't remember that Christian Greengrass had such a personality. He had seen this man before at a pure-blood family banquet, but he had an impression of him because this man didn't seem to behave like most pure-bloods. He had seen Christian following behind the current head of Greengrass. When he heard him talking to another head of the family about pure blood and marriage, there was a flash of disgust in his eyes. He looked at him for a while longer, but Christian immediately concealed his expression after noticing his gaze. Sirius, who originally wanted to get to know the person in case he was a fellow traveler, immediately lost interest. He was just a coward. However, he is still as quiet as before, but he is not the type of person who would run away after saying just one sentence to Evans, right? The confused little wizards put the topic aside for the time being. This time Severus did not sit with them, he went to the Slytherin box, with his Slytherin acquaintances. Lily hadn't seen him since arriving at the platform. It wasn't that they didn't want to be with him, but they really didn't know where he was. It suddenly occurred to me, James said suddenly after stealing a cookie, Regulus will be here next semester, and our box can't accommodate so many people. Perhaps Rail would like to go to the Slytherin box with Snape. Sirius knew his brother well enough to know that he might not like the Gryffindor gatherings. Seriously, they should have a lot of common topics. Dumbledore still wore the same star-shaped robe, but this time he paired it with a moon hat. It was still a bad combination and bad color matching. Terrible aesthetics. Andric would not say anything bad about Dumbledore in other aspects. He is still the greatest white wizard of this century. It's just that his aesthetics are really bad. Sirius was silent. He was the one who was best at grooming himself among the boys, second only to Andric. He had never seen such a combination before he met Dumbledore, and now he has learned something new. It's okay. I like the stars on his clothes. Sylvia. Andric was shocked by her words. He never thought that one day he might have to send his sister to St. Mungo's for eye treatment. The stars are really nice. Sirius, who had just established an aesthetic alliance with Andric, turned against him without hesitation. He agreed with Sylvia's words, they are very beautiful. I'll just say it. Before Sylvia could continue to gloat over herself, Sirius added, of course, only limited to the stars. Andric almost thought that he was going to sacrifice his own family for the sake of justice and send Sirius to St. Mungo's as well. Fortunately, the other party's aesthetic taste was relatively normal. But well, to change her bad opinion, Andric thought it was nothing to send her to St. Mungo's. Chapter 45. Time passed quickly after returning to school, and before they knew it, a month had passed. They did not meet the blonde boy on the train again, or maybe they had forgotten about this person, but they had a pretty good month. Today is the Quidditch match between Slytherin and Ravenclaw. Yes, their house Quidditch has been playing for a while, even before Christmas. You really don't want to go, Sylvia? No, I don't want to. Sylvia leaned in front of the fireplace with a book. Her favorite thing was the fireplace that was always burning in the lounge, especially in winter. I don't like getting wet in the rain. We can cast a spell of invulnerability to water and fire. Excuse me, can you? Sylvia's refusal was obvious, because she really hated being outside on rainy days. Even though there was an invulnerability spell to block the rain, she still preferred to stay indoors. The boys would not miss any Quidditch game, and seeing Sylvia's firm attitude, they did not force her. They hurriedly finished the homework assigned by the professors and immediately went to the stadium to reserve seats. Originally they were planning to go straight there, but under Sylvia's pressure they reluctantly agreed to do their homework first, because Lily and Sylvia would not lend them their homework to copy, and in their words, it would be better to stay in the warm lounge than to go to the stadium so early and get soaked. James couldn't contain his excitement, he was the most excited among the few people. From the first game, he was shouting that he must participate in the Quidditch selection next year and bring the latest model of broom. Andric and Sirius were not as excited as he was, after all, it was a Slytherin match. But this year's Ravenclaw and Slytherin were equally strong, and they were still very interested in Slytherin losing the match. Remus was sick these days, really sick. This was one of the reasons why they listened to Sylvia and did their homework. After all, a sick Remus would not give them any homework. It has been raining in the Scottish Highlands for the past week, and Remus came back from outside at night for some reason. He started to have a fever and is now resting in the medical wing. Madame Pomfrey couldn't stand his behavior the most, and tried to make him drink bitter potion every day. Seeing how much torture he suffered, his good roommates didn't bother him too much. I still remember that one night they went to the hospital wing to find Remus and were discovered by Madame Pomfrey. It was a terrible night. They swore that Remus looked even weaker during the next day, and the dark, bubbling potion on the table beside his bed was proof of that. Lily never had the same enthusiasm for Quidditch as the boys, which had a lot to do with her Muggle origin. However, she had gone to watch the first game, the one between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff. But this time, Severus took the initiative to invite her and she was also curious about Quidditch, so she would not miss the game. So Lily looked at Sylvia who was reading quietly. The little witch's hair, which had been draped over her shoulders, was gathered together with a sky blue hairband. This was her habit when reading. As for why it was a blue headband, it was because when Sirius gave it to her, he said that this color suited her eyes very well, and she happened to like it very much, or maybe the gifts Sirius gave her were always to her liking. You have to stay here by yourself. I heard that almost no one will miss this game. Ravenclaw is very strong this time. It's okay, Lily. Sylvia turned around and looked up. She was sitting on the carpet and looking up at Lily, who was sitting on the sofa. From Lily's perspective, Sylvia's eyes seemed even brighter against the light of the fireplace behind her. This posture made her look extremely harmless, making people want to get close to her. I know a lot of people are interested in this match, and you don't want to miss it. Remember to tell me the result. I'll be waiting for you in the lounge. She closed the book in her hand and sat on the sofa. If I'm not here, I might have gone to the library or somewhere else. Anyway, I'll wait for you to come back. You sound like crap. Hey. Feeling the weight on her shoulders, Lily leaned towards Sylvia. She heard Sylvia's clear voice ringing in her ears. Remember to wear more clothes. Madame Pomfrey hates it most when students go to the hospital wing because they catch a cold. But with the warming spell and the fire and water resistance spell, it should be fine. Didn't you just use this reason to reject those boys? How come it's okay with me? Oh, they can't do that, but you definitely can. Lily laughed. She did know these two spells. She didn't tell Sylvia about it because she knew her attitude. Otherwise, those people would have kidnapped Sylvia to the scene. Seeing that the time was almost up, Lily prepared to go to the stadium. She said goodbye to Sylvia and left. Now Sylvia was the only one left in the lounge. After sitting quietly on the sofa for a while, she stood up and left. She had other things to do. Chapter 46. After leaving the lounge, Sylvia walked around the castle for a long time. The portraits watched her run from the 7th floor to the 5th floor, then back to the 7th floor, then to the 4th floor, and then to the 6th floor. The castle was a bit deserted today, with few students outside. It could be said that they only saw Sylvia. Little wizard, where are you going? The knight in the painting couldn't help but ask. He really couldn't bear to see the student running around in the castle for at least an hour and still couldn't find his place. Oh, Merlin! As soon as Sylvia turned around, she saw the knight who was speaking standing at the front, holding a beautiful long sword in his hand. Behind him stood a lot of people looking around curiously, let's say so. A brown-haired lady pushed past the knight and said with some concern, "My dear child, are you lost?" Sylvia thought that aside from the disgruntled knights and those weirdos, the painting was still pretty nice. "I think so, ma'am," she heard herself say. "Oh, where are you going? Maybe we can help you." This is an enthusiastic lady. It can be seen that she is very familiar with the castle, which may be related to the fact that she has stayed here for many years. "Thank you." Sylvia was wondering how to get there, but unexpectedly she met the kind portraits. "I want to go to an empty classroom next to a portrait on the 5th floor." 5th floor? There are indeed many empty classrooms there. The knight returned to where he had just stood. He rubbed his shoulder, which was a little sore from bumping into other people. "But I don't remember any empty classrooms with portraits next to them." "Is that so?" Seeing the little girl, who immediately became depressed, the knight felt a little sorry, and he immediately said, "But you can go and have a look, maybe I forgot." "Great. But why are you alone? If you always get lost, it's better to be with your companions." The kind lady spoke again. She didn't see any other students in her sight and couldn't even hear any sound. "What's wrong with you today? Why is there no one here?" "They all went to watch the Quidditch match today," Sylvia explained. "Okay." The lady obviously had something else to say, but the knight shook his head at her, so she had to swallow her words back. "If you want to get to the 5th floor, go over there." She pointed to the staircase that had just turned around. "Go down from here and turn left to see some empty classrooms." "Go ahead, kid." After saying that, she became a little worried again. "Next time, you should go out with a companion. It's dangerous to walk alone if you get lost easily." Sylvia thanked him not only for showing her the way but also for his concern for her. Just as she was about to leave, the knight spoke up again. "Hey, you're a Gryffindor? Wow, that's cool." "Yes, knight." Sylvia was a little confused. She had been wearing the hospital robes all the time, so why did the other party see it now? However, she still stopped and answered the other party's question. "Which two houses are playing today? I'm guessing Gryffindor isn't involved." Correct answer, but no reward. Sylvia no longer had any hope. The other party was obviously trying to find a topic to prevent her from going to the 5th floor. Although she didn't know why he did this, she still obeyed him. As for the reason, it may be intuition. Seeing that Sylvia was ready to answer all his questions, the knight looked at Sylvia with satisfaction. Would you like to chat with us? You know, no one has talked to us for a long time. It would be boring to stay with these people every day. It was then that Sylvia noticed that there were only 4 people left in the originally crowded frame, if the unicorn was not counted. Of course, if that's what you want. An answer I like. Thank you. Sylvia has said thank you too many times today, but this time there is not much sincerity in it. Today is the match between Ravenclaw and Slytherin. She just remembered that she had forgotten to answer the knight's question just now, and quickly added a sentence. It is said that this match will be very exciting. Ravenclaw and Slytherin are equally strong and are competing for a place in the finals. Oh. It's Slytherin. After hearing this, the knight bumped the shoulder of a quiet person standing next to him. Sylvia didn't miss this action. Why, are you curious too? Yes, and... The knight quietly walked forward again. He waved his hand to signal Sylvia to come closer. After Sylvia took a step closer to the frame as he requested, he covered his mouth to conceal it and whispered, he was a Slytherin before, you know. The knight's winking expression made Sylvia laugh, and she imitated him to show that she understood. The person being choreographed just pushed the knight, and there were no more unnecessary actions. The knight was caught off guard and pushed again, almost losing his balance. He waved his fist at the man, then turned around and stared at Sylvia for a while. Your hair and eyes remind me of someone very familiar. Perhaps you are a descendant of priest. Sylvia opened her eyes slightly, unable to conceal the shock in her eyes. According to what her parents taught her before, she shouldn't tell strangers a lot about family matters. She should always be vigilant, right? But this is just a portrait. What can a portrait do? Ah, do you know priest? My mother is from priest's family. I see. The knight scratched his chin, as if thinking about something. Before Sylvia could continue to ask, the quiet man finally said his first words, Gordy. The knight stopped thinking, he understood what the other party meant. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, he said. I won't bother you with your search for Dalilo's portrait. Do you remember the way? After getting Sylvia's affirmative nod, he, the kind lady and the quiet man walked deeper into the painting. It was then that Sylvia saw a lady sitting under a tree not far away. It must be because the knight had been blocking her view that Sylvia had not been able to see her. She waved at the lady, and then heard her say, Ravenclaw will definitely win. Sylvia was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, you must have been Ravenclaw before. The other party didn't say anything else. She smiled back and followed her companions. After these 4 people disappeared, Sylvia also planned to go find the empty classroom she had been looking for. But she saw someone. Is it you? Chapter 47. When did you come? Sylvia squatted down and picked up the books that had fallen to the ground. She handed them to the man and said, I didn't hear any footsteps. Did you float here? Her somewhat outrageous words made the owner of the book laugh, and then he realized a problem. How do you know me? I mean, it seems like we don't know each other yet. Haha. Sylvia laughed dryly. She decided to maintain her passive skill that popped up from time to time. We didn't know each other, but we had met. How could it not be considered knowing each other if we had met? There is only one step between the two. And we almost sat in the same box. The man opposite thought for a while, and just when Sylvia was getting more and more embarrassed about his far-fetched explanation, he finally stopped thinking and said, you have a point, but I think we are still short of a formal self-introduction. Christian Greengrass. Sylvia Hops. Sylvia held the other person's extended free hand, but after just a second, he pulled his hand back. That was a close call. I almost fell down again. It is not easy to hold 4 books with one hand. Fortunately, Christian reacted quickly and held them in time. Maybe I can help you. Where are you going? Sylvia no longer had any intention of looking for the portrait of Dalilo. After being interrupted repeatedly, she thought carefully and thought that this might be Merlin blessing her. For example, if there are some strange and scary creatures in that empty classroom, you will be caught if you are not careful. The library. Christian was grateful to Shia for helping him share this heavy burden. I have to return these books. Madame Pants will kill me if I don't get them back in time. It's a bit exaggerated, but you know. Sylvia nodded in understanding. Their librarian, Madame Pants, hated 2 things the most, people talking in the library and not returning books after the borrowing time. How long will it take? If it was still early, they could walk slowly. It was really tiring to climb the stairs with books in hand. Sylvia thought it was simple, but things were always more complicated than expected. I remember there should be another hour. Christian, who had shared the burden, could now easily take out his pocket watch with one hand. I'm going to tell you something terrible. He paused for a moment and said, to be precise, there is only half an hour left. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Sylvia took action immediately. Time was extremely important to them now. This was a difficult task of racing against time. Are you sure you are going this way? Christian stood still. He saw Sylvia running up a flight of stairs and spoke hesitantly. Sylvia was puzzled. Isn't it this way? Christian pointed to the stairs in the other direction and said, it's on the second floor. This is the staircase leading to the 7th floor. Ah, is that so? Sylvia heard her say that. Now her mind was full of thoughts like it's too embarrassing and awkward. She had no idea what she was saying. It could also be understood that some of her words came out without thinking. I just want to stand higher. As if to convince herself or others, Sylvia emphasized it again, yes, that's it. Christian looked even more confused. He tilted his head, not quite understanding what the witch he had just met was thinking. Just as he was about to take a step forward and wait for Lashia to come down. And many more. The two spoke at the same time, and they looked at each other in horror as they got farther and farther away. Yes, that's right, the stairs moved. Sylvia stood on the stairs in despair, looking at Christian with his mouth wide open in disbelief. Oh, Merlin! She slammed her head down on the 2 books in her hands. Madame Pants is really going to kill Christian now. Madame Pants looked at the 2 people panting. She raised an eyebrow and said, are you here to return a book? Yes, ma'am. The 2 put the book in front of Madame Pants. She checked the information in the book and nodded. Sylvia and Christian breathed a sigh of relief. We caught up. I want to remind you that you should come earlier next time. Madame Pants saw their little action and said in a serious voice, well, you are welcome to borrow books or read them. But please keep quiet. After experiencing a life and death race, neither of them could calm down to do anything, and they left the library without looking back. Just after leaving the door, Sylvia said, alas, I never understood how the stairs in the castle turned. Thinking of how the stairs led her to another place and Christian had to look for her for a long time, Sylvia felt very embarrassed. She continued, fortunately, you found me later, otherwise I would have delayed your return of the book. It's nothing. If you didn't help me carry the books, it would take me a long time to carry so many books by myself. Christian comforted Sylvia not to take it to heart, at least they caught up with the time of death. Outside the library is a corridor, the kind where you can see outside through the glass. The green Quidditch uniform flashed past them, leaving a blue afterimage behind him. Isn't it Slytherin's match today? Understanding exactly what Sylvia hadn't finished saying, Christian looked out the window and wrinkled his nose. I hate the feeling of rain on me. Me too. Sylvia said happily, it seems we are destined to be together. Maybe. Christian only replied ambiguously. Chapter 48. Meeting Christian for the first time was an accident, and getting to know him was also an accident, but Sia had to admit that her friend was very different. He wasn't as reckless or energetic as James and the others, nor was he as silent and introverted as his Slytherin classmate Severus Snape, or was he gloomy. Sylvia assured her that she didn't mean it in a derogatory way, that Severus really was just too silent. If Christian was closer to anyone she knew, she thought it would be Regulus. But the biggest difference between the two is that Christian hates pure blood and the theory behind it. That's rare, especially coming from a pure blood. When Sylvia heard what he said, she was so shocked that she dropped the book on the ground. The other party laughed dumbly, don't believe it. It's not that I don't believe it, I'm just really surprised. Sylvia picked up the book and put it back in its place while saying, there are not many purebloods who think this way. I mean, most wizards from pureblood families tend to worship that. You are also from a pureblood family, aren't you? Christian did not answer directly, but instead asked Sylvia. You know that's not what I'm talking about. She found the book she wanted, held it in her arms and walked towards the table, with Christian walking beside her. I don't think we can talk anymore. I see Madame Pants keeps looking our way. Christian lowered his voice to the lowest possible level when he said this. He swore that if he raised his voice a little louder, Madame Pants would kick them all out in the next second. That would be too bad, as they still had a lot of papers to research. Sylvia glanced at Madame Pants secretly, and it was indeed as Christian said. She made a hush gesture to indicate that she understood, and the two of them spent the whole afternoon quietly under the intimidation of Madame Pants. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Sylvia hasn't seen Andric and the others except in class recently. Lily also discovered this, and she even said that these people might have changed their personalities and were no longer able to stay quiet. The most direct and powerful proof is that Gryffindor's gems have never been reduced in large quantities, which is not common. Sylvia wasn't sure whether they had changed their nature, but she was sure that these people were either holding back a big move or had to keep quiet for some reason. This gave her the opportunity to meet other friends, Christian in this case. Over the past month or two, Sylvia and Christian have become very familiar with each other. Although they cannot talk about anything, they have given each other great trust. Lily also liked this new Slytherin friend very much. On days when James didn't disturb them, the four of them, Lily, Sylvia, Sev, and Greengrass, always did their homework together. When the two colleges had classes together, they would form teams with each other. Life couldn't be more pleasant. You guys! A familiar voice rang in Sylvia's ears. She stopped what she was doing and looked over. What she saw was a pair of grey eyes, followed by that overly handsome face. When did you feel so familiar? It had been a long time since Sirius saw the familiar silver-white head appear in front of him. He admitted that a large part of this was due to himself. After all, they were completing a great and unprecedented mission. James said that no one could know about this, including Sylvia. He had even seen Lily a few times, but he had definitely never seen Sylvia outside of class. Sirius keenly noticed that something was wrong, and although he was reluctant to invade other people's privacy, especially Sylvia's, he still did it. He first casually asked Lily, "Evans, isn't Sylvia with you today?" Lily, who was sitting on the sofa in the lounge reading a book, looked up and said that after class, Sylvia left by herself saying that she had something to do, and she never saw her again after that. Sirius nodded when he heard this. He then asked, "I saw her in herbology class today. Her necklace is really beautiful, isn't it?" Lily tilted her head after being disturbed again. She was a little surprised. "Yes, it's beautiful." Just as Sirius was about to continue speaking, Lily interrupted him, "She wears that necklace every day, it's a star and moon necklace. Do you have any other questions? If not, I want to read a book quietly for a while." After getting the answer he wanted, Sirius smiled at Lily and said, "Oh, of course. I won't bother you anymore. Sorry." After saying this, he quickly left the lounge. Everything went as he expected, very smoothly. Apart from, Sirius didn't expect that Sylvia was sitting with a boy they didn't know. In the library. Head to head. Very close. He quickly came in front of the two men, trying his best to make his tone sound normal. Obviously he overestimated his abilities, and as soon as he opened his mouth he couldn't help but want to make a sarcastic remark or two. If Sylvia's eyes hadn't been on him, he was sure that he would have said more than just that. Chapter 49. Sirius. Sylvia said with some joy when she saw the newcomer. She put down the quill in her hand and stood up. "Hey, why are you here? I haven't seen you guys for a long time. What are you doing recently? Every time after class I want to talk to you, but you seem really busy. Andric always says come later, something's going on or something like that. What on earth are you doing? Can I know?" Sylvia was so excited as she hadn't seen her good friend for a long time that she said a lot at once. She really couldn't control her emotions. "Then which one do you want to know first?" Sirius smiled softly. He didn't expect Sylvia's reaction to be so big, but it did calm him down a little, and the atmosphere was suddenly not as tense as before. Sylvia realized belatedly that she had asked too many questions and did not give Sirius any time to answer. She felt a little embarrassed and said, "Am I a little too excited? But it's because I can't find you every time. Have you finished your paper?" "What?" Sirius changed the subject so quickly that Sylvia didn't react for a moment. "It's already been written." "So are we going back?" "I mean, the library isn't a good place to chat." Sylvia agreed with Sirius. Just as she was about to turn around and pack her things, she heard Sirius say, "Then. What about you?" Christian Greengrass, sitting in his seat, met Sirius Black's sullen gaze. In the past few months, Sirius Black has been a hot topic at Pureblood family banquets. No matter how much he was loved and valued by the Black family in the past, all of this disappeared the moment he entered Gryffindor. He recalled the party at Malfoy Manor during the Christmas holidays, where Mrs. Black made no secret of her disappointment with her eldest son and her preference for her second son. You know, she had always praised Sirius Black before, and Regulus Black was always ranked behind his brother. But this time she said, "Fortunately, I still have a son, Regulus. He always makes me feel at ease." How ironic. He just looked straight at Sirius and smiled, "Okay." He didn't expect that the other person would come close to him even though he didn't even try to hide the rejection in his eyes. Sirius was confused for a moment. Was it because he didn't express himself well enough? Shia then remembered that she had not yet introduced the two people to each other, but thinking that they must have met at the Pureblood banquet, Shia only mentioned it briefly. "This is Christian Greengrass, you know," she said to Sirius, bumping his arm when he didn't respond. Even if he didn't want to talk, it was not appropriate to pretend to be deaf and dumb at this time. Sirius had no choice but to symbolically say Sirius Black. Completely ignoring Christian's reaction, he saw Sylvia put away her things and then took Sylvia's arm and walked outside. Just when he thought that Greengrass would return safely to their dark and damp Slytherin common room, he saw Greengrass following them. Merlin. Is he acting too good-tempered? I didn't know the Slytherin common room was in this direction. Sirius spoke coldly. For Sylvia's sake, he did not tell the other party to go wherever he wanted to go. It was not a good thing to not do that. Did I say we were going back to the lounge? Christian fought back without showing any weakness. He expected that the eldest son of the Black family would be very angry, and it would definitely not be just a casual remark. He didn't even speak in a vicious tone, he just said something sarcastic, not hurtful at all. It was very different from what Christian had imagined. An imperceptible emotion flashed across his eyes, so fast that Sirius, who had been staring at him, didn't even notice it. There is no doubt that the other party's provocative words completely angered Sirius. He felt that he had been forbearing for a long time and could no longer endure it. Just as he clenched his fists and was about to grab the other party's collar with a green tie and try to solve the problem with force, Sylvia spoke. "Aren't you going back to the common room, Christian? Then we have to go back first. It was fun doing homework with you. We can continue discussing that problem tomorrow." It was so much fun. Christian stopped walking when he saw this. He said to Sylvia, "I'm going to find an empty classroom. The spell you mentioned is very interesting. I want to practice it." This was not a lie, Christian really intended to do this. The reason he didn't say it directly was that he just wanted to see Sirius Black's face, which was so dark that it could squeeze out ink. "What's wrong with that?" "Great. I hope you've succeeded when we meet tomorrow." Sylvia encouraged Christian. "You know, it took her 2 days to completely learn the spell. Then we'll go first, see you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." Christian responded to SIA, and the little witch waved to him and left with the people next to her. The boy in front took the heavy textbook, leaned over and said a few words, probably asking something. It could be how they met, it could be why they were meeting tomorrow, it could be the interesting question they discussed, or it could be the spell he was going to practice later, but it had nothing to do with him anymore. He looked at the sunset outside the window, the sun was setting. Chapter 50. Sylvia and Sirius, who had just left, were just as Christian had thought. The topic they were talking about could not escape those questions. "So you really can't tell me what it is?" This sentence should have been said by Sylvia to ask Sirius what they were doing recently, but now he asked her back with confidence. Sylvia would not be fooled, she had already figured out what Sirius was thinking. Wasn't he pointing it out before her just to make her feel guilty, to make her suffer the guilt of hiding a little secret? "If you tell me what you guys are up to first, I don't think I would mind revealing a little of my little secret." She made a face at Sirius, with an expression that said "I won't be fooled," which made Sirius feel a little funny, and he actually laughed. "Hey, what are you laughing at?" Sylvia hit Sirius in dissatisfaction. "Nothing. Really?" She raised her eyebrows suspiciously, but Sirius's uncontrollable smile told her that this was not the case. Seeing Sylvia's unbelieving expression, Sirius straightened his face and said seriously, "Well, there is indeed a small problem." He glanced at Sylvia from the corner of his eye. Seeing that she seemed to be listening attentively, he continued, "I feel a little uncomfortable." "What's wrong? What's wrong?" The word "not so good" made Sylvia nervous for a moment. Sirius lowered his eyes at the right time. His long eyelashes concealed the emotions in his eyes under the sunset, making it impossible to tell what he was thinking. Just when Sylvia was thinking about all kinds of bad situations, she heard something. My arm hurts so much. Maybe that little witch was too strong. I think there must be a bruise on it. Sometimes appropriate silence is a kind of protection, otherwise Sylvia is not sure what she can say that will definitely be forbidden by her parents. Ha! After a long silence, Sylvia finally sighed, I didn't expect that some wizards couldn't even withstand a punch, Merlin. Okay, Sirius. Act with her? Oh, Sirius. Seeing that a class of students had just finished class in the distance, and it was crowded, Sylvia raised her voice, I'll take the book. Don't get tired. I'm really afraid that your injury will be more serious. I can't imagine you and Merlin, it must be very painful, right? Sylvia's eyes fell on his left arm that fell at his side. This scene happened to the students who quietly slowed down their pace just to listen to gossip. They immediately realized that this was a concern. They didn't expect that Blake's arm was injured. But why didn't Hops finish his words? How did such an important part get blurred? How did he get injured? How could it be so serious that even holding a book would affect his recovery? Seeing her classmates, who were in a hurry, stopping and pretending to chat, Sylvia couldn't help but feel excited. Sirius, you'd better pray that your arm is okay, I swear I didn't use any force. Sirius, who was caught off guard by such an unexpected encounter, had just gone from being confused and bewildered to now having a helpless smile. Well, now he was pretending to be miserable in front of the whole school. He dared to use James's smelly socks to indicate that there would definitely be a lot of people asking him what happened during dinner. Silently bearing all of this, Sirius swallowed his saliva. He thought optimistically that at least he still had time to come up with a story background. How about saving the witch bewitched by Slytherin? Completely different from the atmosphere of intrigue between the two people, Andric could be said to have a rare moment of relaxation. He lazily half lying on the sofa, a seat vacated after Sirius left, playing with his wand. He had been so busy lately that he had hardly spoken to Sylvia. Dinner was a good opportunity. Besides, he hadn't written to his parents for a long time. If Archie hadn't been on strike all the time and Hess hadn't been a good girl, he wouldn't have rubbed Sylvia's owl every time. Every time he saw her flying into the auditorium with a big package, he felt a little guilty. It was no wonder that he always pointed fingers at Archie. Merlin, what other owl is like him? He won't deliver letters if he can't get the cookies. Andric really wanted to shake the owl's head to wake him up. This was no longer home, this was Hogwarts. There were no cookies baked by his mother. Not even the high-end imitations made by Sylvia. I really don't know what this little idiot was thinking. If he didn't go home to deliver the letter, he wouldn't have any cookies, and if he didn't have any cookies, he wouldn't go to deliver the letter. But how could he get any cookies if he didn't deliver the letter? In short, this is a series of problems that are linked together. If he hadn't been so lively and beautiful at the time. Never mind, since I chose him, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for your hard work, poor girl. He is willing to give away all the cookies that Archie had. James and Remus were playing wizard chess on the side. It must be said that it was rare for James to play chess quietly. Lily, the studious witch, was still reading the book she had been reading before Sirius left. The good news was that she was almost done. Andric let out a sigh of relief and sank a little deeper into the sofa. It's great, Hogwarts. At that time, he, or they did not know how his good brother, Sirius Black, became a poor little man who endured humiliation and was seriously injured in school.